revived. He was speaking in Nandi County, where he urged the residents to support his candidature.
Haya madeni ni ya Jubilee. Nyinyi ndio mlituweka kwa haya madeni. Hapo ndio mimi nashangaa. Kwa sababu kwa hiyo cabinet Ruto anakaa, Uhuru anakaa. Wakipitisha mkopo, wanapitisha pamoja.
This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto.
You know, when you see someone being jailed, a governor or two or someone who stole, then people will fear. Because our problem is not the borrowing, it's the stealing.
We've become actually a nation of thieves. The only thing we lack is an opportunity to steal.
The guys who quote the Bible and say I'm a Christian and all that, and you know they're thieves. Return what you have stolen 4 times. If you know that you have property or anything that you have stolen, just return and say, my God does not allow me to hold stolen things.
We are also a reflection of you, because you elect us. You know, we don't get into our office by ourselves. We are a reflection of the people who elect us.
We don't want to go to the streets. We have a constitution that enables us, assert our will.
When the legislators are now being taken as hostage by the executive for whatever reason, we are now bound by what they want us to do.
This is just outside the realms of reality. We have impunity written into the DNA of our political class.
How old were you when you learned that Jeshi Lokop is Jeshi la Wokovu?
I can't say it very well. No, Jeshi Lokop.
And everyone knows. Okay.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. SpiceFM, Nyeri.
What does Wednesday morning look like? Well into the middle of the week and the first day of the new month. Looks like there's some traffic happening already on Mombasa Road, and that's building up all the way from the Weybridge, heading out towards the SGR. Going to take a look at other parts of the city as well. Jogo Road is also building up. Coming into the city from the Thika Superhighway, we do have some traffic there. Westlands is already a quagmire right now. And Langata Road is building up as well. Coming off from Gong Road is smooth sailing well into the city. And the city looks empty, at least for now. Let's see what it looks like in a short while. Not too crazy at the moment, but we'll keep an eye on things. Help us out to do this as well. SpiceFMKE on Twitter. Text on 40127. Let's get Wednesday morning started off right.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Hello, a very good morning to you, and how are you doing? Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. Welcome to September. Nduoko,
Yes.
how are you?
Niko fine, thank you.
Fine, thank you.
Niko fine, thank you.
Kabisa.
Now
Very fine, thank you, kabisa. City,
Yes.
habari yako?
Mzuri sana. Na wewe jambo?
Jambo mingi.
That's well done.
Yes.
Thank you.
What is that you were singing out there? You know, it's just stuck in my head now.
Which one? You don't have
Baraka
to be...
Mwishehe song.
Which one? Mapenzi yanitesa?
Yes.
Wazimu wanipata kwa kufikiri wewe. It was a lovely song.
Mapenzi
yanitesa.
It was a song.
Wazimu inani? Hata nikikufikiria sana.
Yes, kwa kufikiri wewe.
Kufikiri wewe. Mama ye. You hear that one? You follow him wherever he's going. What?
I will follow him
You see? Follow him wherever he may go.
Yes. You know, there are weeks when you start with a song in your head. Me, it started last week. Songs in my head. Songs that I haven't thought of in the longest time, and I can't recall what it is that sparked off the thought of the song. But there it is.
Voila.
So what sparked off this one?
This particular one.
Mapenzi.
No, it's a comment that was made about Bibi Mwenzio. And immediately, you see, the clocking of the brain seems to attach statements to songs now.
Okay.
You mentioned Bibi Mwenzio, I thought of the song immediately. Bibi Mwenzio sio mali yako. Yes. So, immediately. But it also tells you the sort of music one listened to in one's youth.
One was privileged.
Yes. We didn't have many distractions then, you know.
No?
Listen to the radio, watch a bit of black and white TV.
And that's it.
And then when color TV came, usually it was just one color. Meaning everybody was green. Then with time, you could see people a bit red. Color TV evolved very nicely, by the way. Then one half of the TV would be sort of like multicolor. The other one was black and white. And over time, you actually got to see the color that had been promised. Little did I know that a time would come when black and white would be considered to be for serious watchers only. People do not want to be distracted by color.
They're looking at the quality.
Yes.
And the production. Hiya. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation, everybody. Welcome to September, this lovely first day of the month. We are going to have some various conversations based on what's happening around us in the country and in the world. And also, we'll be doing what we normally do, which is looking at COVID-19 and the spread of COVID-19 in the country and in the world, and all the government's efforts at combating COVID-19. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yes. So how far are we now with COVID in the country?
Okay, so let's look at this now. First of all, we see a warning coming from the Ministry of Health by way of CS Muthui Kagwe. He's warned that no vaccination should take place outside the Ministry of Health designated vaccinated zones. All right?
Yeah.
So this is coming off what we've heard of the mismanagement or the disappearance of vaccines and then people using them under private entities. He said that the sites are available at the Ministry of Health website, and there are many outreach programs being conducted. They must be carried out from the approved vaccination points, and he says any that will be carried out must be from approved vaccination points for both the public and private health facilities. So even when health facilities are private ones or even private organizations carrying out any vaccination programs are usually under the Ministry of Health, and that you will have Ministry of Health officials then carrying this out. He says vaccines which are not stored in the established cold chain facilities and transported to vaccine posts, as per the established protocols, are likely to lose potency and will not be of use to those who receive such vaccinations. So giving that warning as came from the Ministry of Health yesterday. Now, if we're looking at the numbers of new cases, there's a worrying thing in the country at the moment. Quite a number of cases of COVID, quite a number of cases of death. And, according to PS Susan Mochache, a couple of days ago as well, she said, look, we don't have the real numbers because we just don't have the facilities to be able to do this. And that is the case. That really is the case. Looking at the numbers...
So the government does not know anything. The government does not know who's stealing vaccines. The government does not know who's got COVID. The government does not know who's died of COVID. What does the government know? Does the government know it's a government?
Does it? That's a good question. What the government does know is that 3,610,600 people have been vaccinated in the country. Okay? We also know that yesterday, 565 cases of COVID were found from a sample size of 4,494, pushing the country's positivity rate now to 12.6%, and 6 deaths recorded yesterday. Those are the numbers that we're looking at. It doesn't seem we've not gone below 500 cases, just for your information.
And every day we're recording just about 10 deaths and below. Yeah?
Except for last week when we had 32, 36 there, but again, these are not on the day. These are deaths that have been collected over the last, couple of weeks.
I think I was a little harsh on the permanent secretary, Ministry of Health the other day.
You were harsh on her?
I think I was. I think I was, because as you were saying it, I realized
about the pathologist
issue.
Her coming out and saying, look, our capacity is what it is. On the one hand, what I said, I meant, but she should be lauded for having come out to say, folks, this is the reality of what we have. Because essentially that's like coming out and hanging yourself out to dry.
Yeah.
It's
Coming out and saying, we
guys,
don't know. We don't have the capacity to know.
It's a fairly bold step to have taken. That having been said, it is a bold step to have been taken.
However, all those things, so we look at the reporting of deaths every day. So there's a daily number where we're told these ones died yesterday, and then these other ones are people who died over the last X number of weeks and X number of months. I still question that.
But Eric, we're not even told the full number of people who died on the day.
Of course, because we don't know.
Exactly.
I mean, that's why we have
that report is being given,
late
you don't
reports,
even know.
late reports.
Yes. I don't know. Somebody passes this morning from COVID. The likelihood of that report reaching the Ministry of Health by the time they're giving the address at about 2 p.m. is very slim. It's unfortunate, but that's the reality we're dealing with right now.
It's really, really, really sad. So, okay.
So what is being reported today is what happened yesterday, essentially.
Not even yesterday.
No, it's also not yesterday.
It's what happened in April.
No.
We're in September.
So I mean, you can't know. What my point is that you can't know what's happening today if the information that is being presented to you today happened previously. So even on a daily basis, you're not really sure of what the situation is.
But let's take the view that it's a good approximation, shall we?
No.
Or is that being far-fetched?
No,
yes, it's being really far-fetched.
Really? Eh?
Yeah.
Okay. So I should withdraw what I've just said?
Yes.
No.
Look.
How is it a good approximation when you... Look, the way the information is being collected. So first of all, Susan Muchacha, the PS, says, number one, you don't have pathologists. Okay? So we are not even able to tell the people who've died who are not in hospital, whether they've died because of COVID or whether they had COVID. Two, our testing capacity already is low. So every day, even as we're being told, these are the number of people who've tested positive, is just a very small sample. And these are people who presented themselves with symptoms, got tested, got confirmed.
Right.
Excuse me, right? All the people who are now testing positive is because they got symptoms, got tested. Well, apart from those who are seeking to travel and they're now looking for travel documents.
Yeah.
Everybody else is because you presented yourself, the doctor looked at you, the doctor did the whole thing of, pneumonia, put the pneumonia people aside, and we know those are many, and then said, let's test you for COVID. And then you tested positive for COVID. Those are the ones. We don't even know whether now that number we're told today is the people who were tested in the last 24 hours or in the last 48 hours. Then the people who have died, of those that tested positive, the government does not even have a way of tracking them to know, are you alive? Are you well? Have you healed? Remember, who was it that we were talking to the other day who was reminding us? Last year, they would call you up and ask you, so are you so-and-so? You've tested positive for COVID. How are you feeling? Keep letting us know how you're feeling. Today, that thing...
It doesn't happen.
Ended. So you test positive for COVID, you go and stay at home. From that point on, you're on your own. So we cannot even say in CT that this is a good estimation. Good estimation of what? If the government has not tracked, the government has known because the facilities have said we have conducted this number of tests and so has tested positive.
Okay.
Those are the ones that the facilities are self-reporting.
Can I revise my statement?
Yes, please.
Is it a good approximation of the approximate?
As long as there's a good somewhere there in that statement.
Then maybe.
No.
Out.
It's not good.
It's not a good approximation of anything.
It's limping at best.
You know, one of the things that I would have assumed, I would also have heard, and this is probably why I took the stand I did yesterday, was how we're planning to fix it. Right? Because we do train pathologists.
We've given up. We gave up a long time ago.
We train them. I know they're trained. I don't know of any year when we've not had people training in pathology in this country. I'm just saying it's a fact. I'm not guessing. I'm stating it.
The thing of fixing, forget it, City. We moved on.
Okay.
Yeah. When the CS for Health says there are people who are colluding with health workers to steal the COVID-19 vaccine and sell. And then there are people who are seeking political office next year and they've started using the COVID vaccine as a campaign tool. And CS has not said people have been arrested. CS is not saying that investigations have been conducted and people are going to court. You have not heard any report from the DCI or from the DPP that people are being charged over that. Is that not a system that has given up?
No, that is a system that's covering up. That is a system that already knows what has happened. Note, I'm not saying what they have done. I'm just saying what has happened. And now we're being given explanations as to why what has happened. So that when it now is in the public glare, you'll be told, but remember we told you that there were some people who had, no arrests made, no names mentioned, but we told you such a thing had happened. That, in my view, is what's actually happening.
Cheers, one. 19 minutes after 6, let's take this quick break. We take a look at the weather and then look at the newspaper headlines. A very good morning to you. This is Kenya's biggest conversation.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Hello.
Halo, umesikia?
Nimesikia nini?
Hujasikia habari? Hebu acha nikuambie. Kile kimetokea.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Don't wait for hearsay. Dial star 550 star 1 hash to read the Standard e-paper from the convenience of your mobile phone for only 20 shillings from your telecom line, and stay up to date for a reliable source with over 100 years of experience with no additional data charges.
SpiceFM.
It's getting hot in here.
Oh, everybody steals. It's better a thief who brings something small back. And I say to myself, there's no better thief. A thief is a thief, period.
All those bribes, how much they're getting per year, how much inconvenience they're causing, as much as you call it a small case, it's worth it to be convicted.
The truth is, we are a tribal nation. Because if we were not tribal, and I want to go back to this, you cannot continue walking around with a mug which is clean outside and it's rotten inside.
We have become a fuliza country. We have mortgaged our country because of debt.
You've got one chef working and the assistant chef wakati anatakana koroge unga nini hayuko.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Cloudy conditions in Nairobi.
The weather with
26 today and lows of 19. Nyeri is looking at 16 and we'll see highs of 20 and lows of 11. Fair weather in Nakuru County, highs of 19. Highs of 22 and lows of 19 today. Cloudy conditions looking to Eldoret. We'll see highs of 19 and lows of 11. Going into Kisumu, cloudy conditions, highs of 29 and lows of 17. Kakamega the same at 22, going to highs of 26. Looking into Malindi, cloudy conditions at 26, going to highs of 29. Going into Mombasa as well, 26 will be the high and lows of 19. Rain showers expected later. Going out into Kampala, the weather is fair this morning, cloudy conditions, highs of 29. And in Dar es Salaam, we'll see highs of 30, cloudy conditions at the moment. A rainy Lagos morning at 25, we'll go to highs of 30 and lows of 24. 31 will be the high in Kinshasa with lows of 22.
Hey, it's getting hot in here. The media has greatly contributed to the moral rot that we experience in this country.
I remember a senior politician telling me, point blank, nobody steals in the field, it's stolen in the granary. So my friend, if you're going to win an election, jipange kwa granary.
I think we are suffering from Stockholm Syndrome. Our violator and abuser is also our redeemer in our mind.
The whole political class, the whole political institution is rotten. It is based on ideals that cannot progress our country forward.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Okay, it's 22 minutes after that hour, 6 o'clock, and Kenya's biggest conversation is live streaming on SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. People are online, right?
Yes, they are. Raphael Conrad Mwembe is tuned in this morning. Nakuru is locked. He says, welcome to September 2021. He says he remembers the days and there were only 3 channels, KBC, KTN and NTV. Even Nipashe Weekendi. Oh, okay. That's Raphael. And also saying hello is Lesanjo Matthew. Tuned in and says, happy new month. Asumta Larson is tuned in from Denmark. Simon Onyango says, good morning, SpiceFM. A fruitful September 2021. Washira Wilfred says, hey, Mdu Eric and CT following guys from Kitengela. You made it. Eric, did you go hold hands?
Where?
With Washira. Remember yesterday? He said, I'm coming.
He's the one,
to come and hold my hand.
See, I told you.
He said, my God, Mombasa Road is big. First time in Nairobi. Well, welcome to Nairobi.
No, you're not in Nairobi. You're in Kitengela. You're in Kajiado, bros.
You know.
He passed through Nairobi now.
But that's a good thing that he has done.
Yes.
At least he didn't ask for directions. He actually got here on his own.
He did.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah. You're a proper Kenyan. Self-sufficient.
Boy Scout.
Wow. Patrick Ellie says, good morning, crew. Tuned in from Maseno. Nihilus says, good morning as well. Kev Santana's tuned in from Nanyuki this morning. Leslie granddaughter tuned in as well. Yeah, from Jamaica. Nams Wailisha, happy new month, guys. Tuned in from Mogadishu in Somalia. Kaptarakwa EMC. That's where Mwalimu Dominic Cheriot is tuned in from. Linus Onjala tuned in from Moore University.
Kaptarakwa? Elgeyo Marakwet County.
Iyo sasa.
Okay.
Cyprian Moritz tuned in from Nakuru County, and Efe Collins tuned in from Embakasi this morning. Seeing all of you online this morning. Asante sana for joining us. Have a fantastic morning.
Karibuni sana. Bwana Siti Muga.
Yes.
Today's proverb.
If there is no enemy within, the enemy outside can do you no harm.
If there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do you no harm.
I like that.
Nobody can steal. If there's no enemy within, nobody will steal. It's an inside job.
See? Nobody.
I know where you want to go with this, CT. I can see it in your eye.
You can see it in my eye.
I can.
So I just say it. If there's if there's no enemy inside, nobody can stop reggae. Okay, let's take a look at the headlines. Shall we? Yeah? Shall we?
We shall.
Okay. Where do we want to start? Let's start here.
At the beginning.
At the very beginning.
A very good place to
start.
At
the very top. Okay. Now, at the very top is a story about ODM wanting the IEBC to give parties more time to conduct their primaries. The Parliament is basically going to be resuming. Was it today or yesterday? Today or tomorrow? To consider the new nominees to the IEBC. The Orange Democratic Movement has petitioned the Electoral Commission to review the 2022 elections calendar and allow parties more time to conduct credible nominations. The IEBC, in its August 9th, 2022 elections operations plan, released in June, indicated that political parties will be required to conduct their primaries between April 16th and the 22nd next year. But yesterday, the Raila-led party, concerned by the limited timelines, met IEBC Chairman Wafula Chebukati, whom they want out, at the Commission's offices in Nairobi to discuss issues related to party primaries and electoral dispute resolution timelines as part of preparations for the next year general election. Secretary General Edwin Sifuna and National Elections Board Chairperson Catherine Muma led a team of other party officials to petition the Commission to reconsider the timelines, which they termed as stringent and had the possibility of affecting free and fair nomination processes. So, according to Sifuna, they were asking the IEBC to review the election calendar and allow parties more time to conduct credible primaries, that they feel parties should not be lumped together as each is different and with unique needs.
Okay.
Mr. Chebukati reportedly assured them that the matter will be put to plenary for review and ensure that this is done. He said the party wants at least 3 months to stagger the nomination process to enhance fairness in the polls. So ODM wants to do nominations over three months.
Yes. From now.
Yes. No, not from now. From the beginning to end. This maybe will be the dates for our MCAs.
And we'll tell you.
This will be the dates for women rep candidates. This will be the date for our MP candidates. This will be the date for blah, blah, blah. And then this is the day that Raila Odinga faces off with Jimmy Wanjege. Tan, 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 tan. Yeah. Yes,
I tell you something. The lawyers have walked out on the Kianjokoma 6 case after a court decision.
Whose lawyers?
The lawyers of the 6 who have been accused.
They walked out, is it?
Yes.
Okay.
And where did they go
to? In a dramatic, it seems like things are quite dramatic today, turn of events, 10 lawyers led by Mr. Danston Omari and Mr. Cliff Ombeta have abandoned 6 police officers charged with murdering 2 brothers from Embu at the point of taking plea. After the 10 lawyers quit the case, High Court Judge Daniel Ongembo deferred the plea taking to tomorrow to allow the officers hire new lawyers. Allowing the request by the 6 officers, commonly referred to as the Kianjokoma 6, Justice Ogembo said legal representation is a constitutional right. He said corporals Benson, Muthui, Consolatan Jerry, Karaoke, and police constables Nicholas Sang-Cheriot, Martin Masamali, Wanyama Lilian Chirono Chamuna, and James Moneke Johu would be given a chance to engage new lawyers, or they will be supplied by the state. The 6 were to be charged over the deaths of the brothers Benson Jiro Digwa and Emmanuel Mutura Ndwiga, who had been arrested in August for flouting curfew in Kianjokoma, Embu County. Their bodies were found 2 days after they went missing. Mr. Omari and Mr. Ombeta and 8 other advocates walked out of the case after Justice Ogembo declined to defer plea taking to enable the suspects undergo COVID-19 tests, as they complained that all 6 of them were experiencing symptoms of the disease. Corporal Karaoke is not in court today, according to Mr. Omari. Police attempted to drag her to come to court, but she's in a worse situation. He added that the suspects complained about having COVID-19 symptoms. They had been taken to the Kenyatta National Hospital, but they were not examined. He said the 6 had filed a case at the High Court to have an inquest ordered to establish the cause of deaths of the 2 brothers. So now that they were denied this plea taking at a later date because of these, the lawyer said, we're not going to do this, and they're done. And so now the state has said, all right, we're going to give you some time to hire new lawyers. Should you fail to do so, we will then offer state representation.
What? So this was basically very well orchestrated. They wanted the 6 not to take a plea. They just said, come on, we're wasting time. They're like, in that case,
we can't do this.
Our instructions were that they should not take a plea today. If you've refused, then my job is over.
It's done.
And without that, without lawyer, without representation,
can't take plea.
Postpone until they find new lawyer.
Absolutely.
And for
or same lawyer.
The same lawyer will come back and they would have achieved what they wanted anyway.
Yes.
Okay. Very interesting stories happening in the papers today. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Let's look at this one before we look at traffic.
All right.
There's a clan in Bureti constituency that wants to evict a woman, blaming her for her husband's mental illness. Clan wants to evict a woman who is married to a man, and this man now has mental illness, and the clan is blaming the woman for the mental illness.
Okay.
Members of the Kabarsumek clan on the 28th of July banished Janet Chepkoech, who's 38 years old, for allegedly having a role in her husband's mental illness. Through its interim secretary, the clan is very well organized.
Clearly, there's an interim secretary for the clan.
Philip Kitur, they gave Chepkoech 14 days to vacate the village, not the home, the village. She was also ordered to leave behind property belonging to her husband, Joel Koech. And she was not just being given verbal instructions. There was a letter. The letter reads in part, any inconvenience caused will be communicated after evacuating. The letter was copied to her mother, Grace Koech, Kamachumo village elder, Nganaset assistant chief, and Kapkatet chief. Chepkoech is here to leave the village as directed by the clan. She's accusing the clan members her stepson and a bishop of orchestrating the eviction in a bid to deny her access to her husband's property. She says, since June when my husband fell ill, I have not known peace. The clan members began pointing an accusing finger at me. The husband, Koech, had by then been admitted to Kapkayet Sub-County Hospital. From then, my husband's clan members began mistrusting me. They didn't allow him to come back to me after he was discharged from the hospital. They instead took him to Itoik village, where he used to live with his deceased wife and children. She says she got married to Koech in 2009 after the death of the first wife. They have 2 teenage children. The decision by the clan has caused outrage among human rights defenders in the county. Now, this is one serious community issue.
Telling you, she's not his first wife even.
Nope. First wife died. She's the second wife. They have 2 kids. Man falls ill. Man is discharged from hospital. A preacher, a bishop, no less, clan elders, and the first wife's child, who is her stepson, are being accused by the woman of orchestrating this whole scheme.
But when you hear the title bishop, don't get overwhelmed by it. Huh? It could be just an individual who's decided to call themselves bishop and they have a...
By the time they call themselves bishop, they are influencers in that community.
There's some leadership quota that has...
Yes, the point I'm making that he may not be the only bishop.
There may be many bishops.
There could be many. Because in the church, in the Christian church, is where somebody self-declares their own position. You can be apostle today. We give you a couple of months or a year. You can become a prophet.
General overseer.
Yes, we can. We give you a couple of whatever. You can then become bishop. Just a question of time.
Take a pick.
Yes.
So then he has gone through the process.
I am not denying it. I'm merely saying that
as long as he didn't start
You know what happens, Eric? It's the connectivity of ideas in our minds that I'm referring to. When you hear bishop, you think of these big established churches, and you think of a prelate, in some purple, reddish, green gown with a dog collar, with a population that is overseeing of hundreds
someone
of
who
thousands.
has eaten books.
Yes, and somebody who, you look at you realize Reverend Kweli. No, this brother could simply be a guy who has around some 50 people, okay? Who
in his entourage.
Yes, with whom they meet under a tree.
Or because we don't know the brother, he may actually also just be a bishop.
No, without a doubt he's a bishop. There's no question about it.
Like those are the other bishop that you've just described.
The other bishop I've just described.
Yeah.
The possibility exists.
Yeah.
But I just thought that I would introduce this other aspect because it's also a possible reality.
25 to 7. Let's take this break.
But did the woman was she then ostracized?
She's still there.
She has received summons, rather.
She has been
extradition orders.
She has received her letter, marching orders.
Right.
Go, and she's been told any inconvenience will be communicated later.
Wow.
There's something about this story again that doesn't add up.
Like what?
By the time it is being reported, and if the report is true, that the community has taken these steps, okay, there has to be some logic behind it. There usually is. Now, you may not agree with it, but there is. And it goes beyond...
And there's a history.
Yes. And it goes what she was, whether she's being blamed for the first wife's death. Man, such stories are never... What we've read here,
tip of the iceberg.
Prelude.
Okay. Let's take this break. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Have you seen them? Am I live?
Yes, it's a very nice outfit, I must say. Good
Thank
job.
you. Asante sana.
The compliment is well received.
Good morning and thank you. Everyone was asking me, what channel is SpiceFM?
96.7. Tell them that, right?
Yes, now they know.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have
you.
What
a beautiful studio, my friend.
I've been to other radio stations, but I've never seen anything like this.
Thank you. And it's very nice to be in a modern studio. Absolutely brilliant.
And I have to say, it's a very cool ambiance here in your radio room. Just for our listeners, I think it is below zero in this room here. Very Swiss temperatures.
All right, quite some traffic already on Mombasa Road this morning, and it's building up as we see coming from the SGR headed out. Outbound and also inbound, quite some. Langata Road also has built up from when we last saw it about half an hour ago. Kamkunji is also building up at that roundabout getting into the city. City's not yet red, not too much traffic within the CBD, able to get in and out without too much of a headache, at least for now, but we know that will build up. Jogo Road is also quite something at the moment. Again, around the Makadara train station, taking you through to the City Stadium roundabout. All right, let's take a look at Thika Road, getting into the CBD. Okay for now, from Survey through and through, you should be fine getting over that Utali drift. But then, as you get to the Pangani underpass, it will be something. It's already building up on Embu Road as well, and we'll see that happen in a short while. Getting into the city, not too bad for now. Coming out of Westlands, seems to be flowing very well, but we know we'll be in traffic hours soon. Let's keep an eye open for that. Let us know, guys. Are you stuck somewhere? Have you found a good route? I do know that the bypass is working really well this morning. Use them. Southern, Eastern, Northern. The Red Hill Link Road coming off Wayaki Way is also an option. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Spice FM, Malindi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done
20
right.
minutes, 7. City, what are you looking at?
I am looking at something fairly interesting. The headline, the Business Daily. Says MPs back state control of a hospital, doctors' charges. The National Assembly Committee on Health has approved a proposal of the amendments of the Health Act 2017. Okay? And the changes will grant the state powers to control medical bills and doctors' fees. To do this and to determine the cap, there'll be an 11-member council that includes the Principal Secretary of Health and the Attorney General. According to this article, they are following in the footsteps of the same basic commodity that we need called fuel. Because fuel prices are also controlled. So they're saying that one of the things that people have complained about is the excessive costs of healthcare in the country. So they now want to, should we say, control it a little tighter.
Okay, so Embu, read a bit of that story.
Let me
just
that bit was me explaining.
Because I thought there's a cap to how much a doctor can charge.
Yes.
Just like lawyers, isn't there?
Yes.
Go on.
Oh, but usually it's not a cap; it's a guide.
Yes, it's a guide.
Yes.
But the guide has a cap.
The guide has a cap.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Embu, continue this.
And that cap is usually ignored. Okay. The committee, having considered the Health Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 114 of 2021, recommends that the House approves the bill, which amends with amendments as proposed. The committee, chaired by Muranga Women's Rep Sabina Chege, said, okay, let me tell you what the bill seeks to amend. I will read it. This is not me paraphrasing.
Okay.
The bill seeks to amend Section 31 of the Health Act of 2017 to have the Kenya Health Human Resource Advisory Council, KHHRAC, determine prices for medical services and doctors' consultation fees.
Okay.
Okay. KHHRAC currently handles the human resources function in the public healthcare system, including posting and transfers of doctors, nurses, and other medical specialists. The Parliamentary Committee also agreed to amendments that will make it a crime for private and public health facilities to demand down payments as a condition for providing emergency medical processes.
Please read that again.
Right. Okay. The Parliamentary Committee also agreed to amendments that will make it a crime. Let me repeat, will make it a crime. Let me repeat, will make it a crime for private and public health facilities to demand down payment as a condition for providing emergency health services.
Good.
Parliament has done something.
If they pass it.
The Committee on Health has passed it. They've said, it's okay. We've agreed. So that's going to stage 2. Yeah.
Okay. So clearly, by that reading, it appears that there's been nobody that offers that guide of how much doctors and hospitals should charge.
Let's say there's been lack of clarity. So now they're providing clarity.
Okay.
Yes.
One may think that may be good for us. Shock.
The thing is, if you were to go by what we've seen with our professional bodies, the guide, the cap may very well be enshrined in law.
But it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't really matter.
You know it's there, and let it just be there for aesthetic's sake. But
what
you're not
will
going
be
to follow
how will you enforce it?
How are you going to enforce? How are you going to regulate and say each and every practitioner is actually following this guide? And then what are you going to put in place should they not? It's happening every day. Consultation in one place is
just like for
shillings.
lawyers.
Consultation another place is 6,000 shillings. Another place is 3,000 shillings.
If you ever went and complained, or if they just did spot checks and found that for consultation here, you've gone beyond the cap, which is charged anything between 500 and 2,500. If you charge 2,550.
So can I go to somebody now? I go for a consultation and I'm charged 3,000 shillings, and I know that the cap is 2,000 bob. Who do I go to now say, hey, look here, they're charging this amount in this place?
See the board and not KHHHRRC.
The many HRACs.
Yes.
You know, if you consider the background to some of this and the survey and data that has been collected by the Kenya Bureau of Standards, Kenya National Bureau of Statistics.
Yes,
why did I standards?
Because they're both KBS.
Yes. Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. Okay. The Integrated House Budget Survey report released in 2019 indicated that 81% of Kenyans do not have health insurance to pay for medical needs. They don't have 81. So 19 only
have.
Yes.
Only 19.
Yes. 81 don't have. Now 81 is steep.
It's very steep.
So essentially, what you're saying is that the health of this country, the vast majority of people leave their health needs to the vagaries of chance and God. And Harambe and well-wishers.
And this is what maybe universal health coverage is meant to address.
That is
precisely.
On paper.
To flip the numbers, essentially.
You cannot fault UHC.
Page 12 of The Nation today says, Uhuru's golden baby, UHC, is still struggling to crawl.
Has it been born?
Yes.
It was a difficult birth.
It was born. It was born with the pilot of the 4 counties. And then since that point, it's just been crying, looking for milk. UHC's funding comes primarily from the central government budget, which from the word go set aside 4.4 to 4.9 billion shillings apportioned from taxes and reallocation of funding from other budget areas. Kenya also sources for money from certain elements of the health system like monitoring and evaluation from partner organizations such as the World Bank. Unfortunately, UHC is nothing to write home about, according to doctors, nurses, counselors and administrators. UHC is a flop. This is not even debatable. If you look at those of us deployed to county hospitals under this program, they lack basic things, basic lab tests. The common people are forced to go buy drugs and sometimes syringes so that we are able to attend to them. A doctor in charge of COVID-19 Isolation Center in one of the county hospitals explained. He further added that, I don't know whether it's a he, the doctor further added that recruitment of doctors and nurses is plagued by trust issues because of contracting challenges between the national government and the counties. So it's just one thing after the other, one thing after another. But UHC is just there on paper. Dr. Andrew Mulwa, the Director of Medical Services, Preventive and Promotive Health at the Ministry of Health, says all 47 counties got 11,000 healthcare workers, and the program is in its third phase that involves registering 10 million Kenyans with NHIF. So far, they've registered 1 million low-income households in the last 10 months. Out of the 1 million that registered, 800,000 have accessed services using NHIF, but our target is to register at least 10 million Kenyans under UHC. They've done 1 million.
There is, however, a larger debate on this particular matter, and it involves something that, again, this particular article points out. Doesn't dwell on it, but it points out, but I picked it up. You see, we actually have existing laws that provide for the capping of prices. All right? The law was introduced in 2011. It allowed the return of price control on essential commodities after the practice was abandoned in the 1990s in favor of economic liberalization. Now, the very point that you're making, okay, you enable this law, you enact it, you put it into play. But
then,
yeah, if laws have existed that would enable this sanity that we're talking about, of the percentage we talked about, remember the 19 who have insurance? 17.5 of them is NHIF.
Yeah.
So the 1.6 are the ones who have private.
1.6%
of the population, the ones who have private insurance, health cover, through employer and what have you. These statistics are bad. They are horrible.
Very, very bad. And you know what? If you look at numbers and then what those numbers translate to, what it actually means is that the staggering majority of your population is vulnerable.
Oh, yes, they are.
Right? That the staggering population, a percentage of your population, doesn't have access to medical care, doesn't have access to these facilities as provided for by anybody, government, themselves, whomever. And so they're left in this state that anything can get to them at any time. Anything could come out and essentially wipe out people, and there's no recourse. That's exactly what we're saying, if you want to make it bare.
Yep. Yep. The things that we are able to do and we still don't do, even as we introduce new laws, staggering.
And what do I say? The measure of a nation is how well you're able to take care of your most vulnerable. That is what you see.
Now, when your most vulnerable comprises 81% of your population, what on earth do you think you're dealing with?
And what is your image?
Yes.
As a nation?
Yes. How did we get to that 81?
Right. Wow. Okay. So, it's a tough task for CS Monica Juma. The Defense Cabinet Secretary, Monica Juma, has a huge task lobbying members of the Commonwealth to support her bid for the Secretary General post. She won a grueling contest for Kenya last year at the United Nations Security Council, as Kenya's Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary will have to do, and she'll have to do it again, this time for the country and for herself. She's been nominated Monday by the President for this position, for the chief executive post of the group of 54 countries, mainly comprised of the United Kingdom and its former colonies. The President said Dr. Juma has an indisputable track record of strategic leadership. I agree, adding that she could use that to bring together and change the perception of the group, which is colloquially known as the club, and has been largely seen as a relic of the British Empire. She's an exemplar of what we in the Commonwealth hold, he said in his address on Monday. Her selection was unsurprising, given that besides being a veteran diplomat, she is an accomplished academic. Sources told the nation that Dr. Juma became an automatic choice after another possible contender, which was Miss Amina Mohammed, but she had already been nominated for the WTO position last year. She's a new face with required experience. It's also prudent that Kenya doesn't appear to be desperate to push for just one person. So she's a contender, and if she's able, and now the way in which the Commonwealth votes is on consensus. So not one person can say no. You need the approval of everybody. And so she's beginning this lobbying process, and they don't know right now if the incumbent, which is Patricia Scotland, a Brit, will run, or rather will ask for this position yet again. So the Commonwealth Heads meeting, which is popularly known as CHOGM, will take place, and during this time she will make her bid.
You know, one thing that I picked out of this is that President Uhuru Kenyatta has really gone all out to try and get Kenyans into these positions, these international positions. Nominating Amina Mohammed for 2 positions, unfortunately not going through in any of them. One, the chairperson of the AU Commission, didn't succeed, and then Director General of the WTO didn't succeed, and now here we are. He's nominating another minister to be the Secretary General of the Commonwealth. It's kudos, and especially the fact that he's actually nominating the women in his cabinet.
Sure. Absolutely.
It's. I think it's a good thing. It's good that Kenya is trying to get out there into these global organizations at that level. Kenya has pursued and has won a seat at the UN Security Council.
And it needn't go unnoticed. I mean, these women, look at Dr. Juma, for example. Stellar example of somebody who could actually do a remarkable job just based on her experience alone and what she's been able to do for the country previously as a serving diplomat. She's a career diplomat, and now sitting in this docket of defense, and then what she's been able to do on an international level, organization-wise. If she's able to meet her bid, I think then the work that the president has been putting in so far to put Kenya on the map then will be fulfilled.
All right.
Yes.
Very good choice, though.
Absolutely.
Very good choice indeed.
Wishing her all the best. At the end of the day, it's a Kenyan. If a Kenyan occupies that seat,
we'll be happy.
We're happy.
It's a Kenyan of this caliber occupies that seat. Excellent.
Very good. There's a college without facilities that is about to receive its first batch of students. Did you get that?
What?
A college without facilities is about to receive its first batch of students.
What are we going to do?
Yeah, wait, we're going to be
This
told.
is in Nyeri Masaba constituency. Okay. It is called Riatirimba Vocational Training Center. It was established 10 years ago as a workshop for Keroka Technical Training Institute. And last year, the government turned it into a full vocational training college. In 2012, the government and its partners purchased 5 acres on which the workshop sits for 2.8 billion shillings. Some more money was spent on equipment and construction of a workshop. However, reports indicate that the government has not provided funding for lecture halls, dormitories, and offices, among other facilities, even after converting it into a full college. Did you hear what I just said? There are no lecture halls, there are no dormitories or other facilities.
And it has been converted
into a full college. Okay?
Okay.
The institution is in Nyeri Masaba constituency and has only 4 lecturers hired by the government. This year, KUSIPS placed some 10 students to this particular institution, Riatirimba Technical. They are expected to report this month. About 100 students from Keroka Technical have been taking their practical lessons at the facility. The institution has modern equipment that is underutilized, including 20 milling machines, 20 computerized numerical control machines, 10 hydrochloric testing machines, 3 service grinders, and several general profile grinding machines. The principal of the institution, Kennedy Anyona, says the institute has some of the best machines in this region. We have the capacity to offer practical training to 300 students. However, we lack human resources. We also don't have lecture halls.
So why
we have
not?
asked the government for 150 million so we can put up a lecture hall, at least, a dormitory, at least, and some offices. We are hopeful we'll get some cash, at least.
When they were sending these students to that school, did they not know that the facilities didn't exist?
Only 10 have been sent. Now we are only expecting
if
these
it's
10 are going to be day scholars and they'll be learning under a tree or in the workshop. Spend your entire day in the workshop with a numerical in the machine.
And this thing was started 10 years ago?
Yes, as a workshop.
Well, it's still a workshop.
It's okay.
Which means there's something that can be done with it. Huh?
Yes.
And we will see how well the 10 students will function in this particular environment.
Yeah. Only problem here, like you've said, like you're pointing out, is the lack of now the lecture halls, the offices. So it's a workshop, yes, but so where are the students going to be sitting when they're doing the theory?
It's a work in progress.
Where
And
kucheni,
remember- and-
tutaangalia hii
Yes,
maneno
and remember they've
tukiendelea.
already asked for money for those things.
Yes.
So as they wait, life continues. But surely, are you saying that even when it was a workshop, that on a yearly basis, there was no budget, there was no budgetary consideration for ensuring that it had everything that was needed?
You see, it didn't need these other everythings because it was just a workshop of another institution.
Yeah, yes.
It was Keroka Training Institute's workshop.
I understand.
Then now they converted it into a college. And it was commissioned by Kisii Senator Sam Ongeri when he was an area MP as a workshop.
Eric, you know why I'm asking the question? Is this, who upgraded it?
The government
Yeah,
of the Republic of Kenya.
Precisely. An upgrade often comes with a budgetary consideration.
Yes.
I mean, by the time you're upgrading it, there's so many things that come because of the upgrade.
Yes. And there's so many things that are now included. That's why it's been upgraded.
From this area was once a Minister for Education, and his name is Fred Matiang'i. He came in 2017 to the institution and he promised an additional 100 million shillings to construct the required facilities. In 2018, Technical and Vocational Training PS Kevin Desai also made a similar pledge, but he was non-committal on whether a budget had been set aside for the works. Area MP Ezekiel Machogu has termed it as an unfortunate that the multi-billion shilling equipment at the facility is underutilized, yet the machines would be beneficial to many students. Has this man risen on the floor of the House and raised this as an issue? When they were debating the budget and budget appropriation and allocation of funds for various things, did Mr. Ezekiel Machogu, is he on record as having spoken in Parliament and said, as we pass this budget,
please,
I want to vote no. I want to vote no because there's been no allocation for this particular institute.
It has equipment.
He's just making noise.
Very, very expensive equipment. And you know what happened? It's lying idle. And you know what will happen, won't you?
Yeah.
It'll become non-functional.
The other thing that maybe we can also ask is, does it need to be upgraded to a college?
No.
Clearly.
If Keroka is not far from it, and Keroka has students, do we need to have another college here?
No.
But
if you're thinking, well, we're thinking rationally. If you think politically, there's a reason why there was that upgrade. Somebody must have said, I have brought you a college. Okay?
Politically.
Yes. Because as is being pointed out, is there really need? If it's a workshop where people do their practicals,
couldn't it just remain just that?
Yes. You know, for the longest time, for the community, forget the community story. Let's move on. We'll discuss it later.
Tell us about the community story, okay? Immediately after the news and after the proverb.
Yes.
So, Ndu, remember those. For the longest time,
got it.
The community. ... Kenya's biggest conversation. Good morning. It's now coming up to 7 o'clock. In the next hour, we hear about the community that for the longest time, we don't know. We'll find out. As we also have other conversations in the coming hours. Good morning. It's now 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Marston Wanjala, the main suspect in the murder of more than 10 children in Nairobi, is expected to lead DCI officers to 3 locations in Bungoma County, where he is alleged to have buried the bodies of 3 other children. The case against him has been moved to Bungoma County after he confessed to killing 3 people in the county. The suspect, who has already confessed to the killings, told police that in 2013 he killed a 13-year-old boy, which led to a protest in Kamukuywa, Bungoma, as protesters set fire the house of one of his co-accused. In addition, Wanjala has confessed to killing another child in the county in collaboration with other suspects. Education CS George Magoa has said Friday is the deadline for parents to ensure that students who took their KCPE examination last year report to secondary schools, else they will be arrested and prosecuted. Magoa said that the ministry will use police officers to conduct house-to-house search in collaboration with chiefs and their deputies to arrest parents who deny their children their right to education.
After Friday, we shall turn to the parents and to find out if we find that you are keeping a child at home and the child is not in school. These policemen have pingos. We shall arrest them.
Interior CS Fred Matiang'i is expected before the Security Committee in Parliament. The CS is expected to shed light on the reasoning behind the reshuffling of Deputy President William Ruto's security. The meeting is being held despite the Deputy President asking Parliament to focus on ensuring that Kenyans are secured wherever they are.
Mimi natosheka na askari yeyote ambaye ameletwa hapa. Wale wa AP ni professional security personnel. Wale wa GSU ni professional security personnel. Ile mimi nataka niulize bunge watumie muda wao kupanga na kuhuzisha wale wanaosimamia usalama kuhakikisha ya kwamba tuko na askari ya kutosha wa vitengo zote katika sehemu zile tuko na changamoto ya usalama katika taifa letu la Kenya.
Meanwhile, a section of legislators from the Kisii community have accused Ruto and his supporters of using security matters to attack Interior CS Fred Matiang'i. Ben Momanyi is Member of Parliament for Borabu.
We are saddened as a community. We have heard for a very long time the deputy with his team always abusing and accusing Mheshimiwa Matiang'i on everything that happens in government. The deputy president should know that when he attacks CS Matiang'i, he's attacking Omogusi as a community. And we are not going to take it lying down.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
Okay, so we are still looking at traffic on Mombasa Road today, getting out into the city. Going to take some time to get out of that one. Traffic also built up on Jogo Road, getting into the city centre. Coming round to the Kamkunji roundabout into the CBD, it's quite slow right now. Industrial area is also picking up that Lunga Lunga and Enterprise Road. Enterprise Road, however, coming towards Mombasa Road, not too bad. Heading in the other direction, that's a totally different story. It's built up some on the Thika Superhighway at the Pangani Underpass. It's stretching further and further past the Utali Drift, and then coming in from Survey also, traffic has built up considerably. All right, where the city centre was empty before, it is now packed. Everybody getting into the city from Moranga Road going to the Globe Cinema overpass, that is actually quite full. We're also looking at traffic building up further down on Limuru Road, out past the village market, and then towards the Aga Khan Hospital. So quite a lot of traffic there as well. It looks like everybody now is awake where they were not 30 minutes ago. Let's keep an eye on things, guys. Help us out here. If you're stuck anywhere, anything we should know about, make it smoother for people to move this morning. Text on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
5 minutes after 7 a.m. A very good morning to you and a happy new month. This is Kenya's biggest conversation on this first day of September 2021. Welcome to the second hour of Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. Let's begin with a proverb by C.T. Muga.
If there is no enemy within, the enemy outside can do you no harm.
If there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do you no harm.
Yes.
Where from?
The lovely and beautiful continent
of Africa.
Yes. I have collected some very, very interesting proverbs from the Mount Kenya region. And you will hear the first.
When do you want to start unleashing them?
Tomorrow.
Start unleashing them tomorrow.
Yes, I have also collected a fair number from Western Kenya, among a community called the Samia. Yes. And I am now in the process of collecting some from the Borana people of Marsabit. I'm going to continue going around the country.
Good.
Yes.
Good. Haya, asante sana. So, repeat.
So, for the longest time, the community...
Those who studied the course of medicine at the University of Nairobi would go to Machakos for community health units, the studying of community health. They would go, that is where you went for that particular unit of community health for the longest time. among other places. Now, why I'm dovetailing this, it's to that particular facility that we're being told was actually a workshop. A workshop doesn't have to be within the compound of the institution for it to be viable, or for it to serve the purpose for which it was intended. One can understand the thinking behind the upgrade, but what one cannot understand is how 10 years down the line, you first of all go and dump the equipment there, and then you say you upgrade it into a college, and then nothing happens 10 years down the line. I find it's disturbing contextually because it is symptomatic of the very things we keep seeing with government projects. Good idea, it is started off, it is talked about, and then somehow there's no follow-up, and if indeed there's no follow-up, you suddenly hear of it many, many years later, and just with historical reference. This project was started at this particular point in time with this purpose in mind. And that's the end of that story. What it represents is the vast wastage of government resources that sort of like just disappear and are dissipated in this manner. That was where the community story came in.
Okay. Je comprends.
Okay. Ndu,
Sir?
I want to ask you some, I'm going to give you some statements, all right? And then I'll ask you some truth or false questions.
I feel like I'm in high school again.
Yes. And each answer that you get right,
Do I get a prize?
you get 10 marks.
What can I do with these 10 marks? Can I, cash them in for something?
Yes, you can convert them.
I can convert them into something else.
You'll get a certificate.
No, sorry.
Of participation.
Participation. Okay? So, last week, Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i imposed a curfew in areas affecting some counties, West Pokot, Baringo, and Elgeyo Marakwet. This county will have, some areas will have a curfew that runs from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And this is to address a spate of rising insecurity in the area. True or false?
Okay. That there's rising security in the area, that there's a curfew.
Curfew. True or false that Interior CS Fred Matiang'i imposed a curfew?
False.
True or false that there is rising insecurity in the area?
True.
Okay.
How many points do I have so far?
She waits.
No, I was answering the question in my head, and depending on what the headmaster will tell us, I want to see whether I got them all wrong or right.
The people of Laikipia, especially Laikipia North, are facing insecurity because of people who are coming from other counties, who are coming to graze in their areas, and they're heavily armed, and they are sometimes shooting them.
And sometimes raiding their cattle, sometimes
So these are
disturbing
3
their peace.
questions. I'm answering all of them yes. Those are...
No.
True.
That statement that I've made, is it true or false?
True. What he's now doing...
He's cheating.
No, he's not. He's providing you with information for you to be able to reconsider.
I'm the one who's asking the questions, Ndu. The question is this statement true or false?
It's true, sir.
The statement is true?
Yes, sir.
Last month, some 2 men were killed, and some 6 police officers have been accused of their murder, and they're now facing charges in court. Is this statement true or false?
True.
True.
There are several families in this country that are looking for their kin, and the leading cases are in the coast, where people are talking about forced disappearance of their kin, and they're accusing security agencies. Is this statement true or false?
True.
There are 4 young men who were killed in the Kitengela area. Speared to death, knifed.
By community vigilante.
True.
True or false?
True.
The National Assembly is seized of all these matters, and in its role as oversight has summoned the Interior Cabinet Secretary several times to discuss insecurity spates in the country in the last 1 month. True or false?
False.
The National Assembly has summoned the Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i this morning through the Committee on Administration and Security to discuss why the Deputy President is heavily guarded by administration police officers.
As
True or
opposed-
false?
True.
True.
True?
I said true now. True.
True.
Yes. You got all the questions right, apart from that first one where you said that you thought it's false that there's a curfew imposed in West Pokot, Baringo East, Elgeyo Marakwet, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. because
There's
of
a curfew?
insecurity. There is a curfew imposed by Fred Matiang'i. Okay? You also got it right when you said that our National Assembly has not summoned Fred Matiang'i to come and respond to Kenya, 6, to come and respond about the disappearances that are currently there, to talk about Isiolo, to talk about
Baringo?
Kitengela. However, he has been summoned to
talk about why the deputy president is being guarded by administration police.
As opposed to
GSU.
As opposed to GSU.
You know, they are all members of the police force. What really is the difference? What's the difference between an administration police, a GSU, a regular cop on the beat? Traffic police, I understand. They direct traffic. That one I've gotten. At least, you see, me, I understand certain things. That one I've got. But the others, what is it? I mean, there are all sorts of units within the police force, but broadly speaking, what do the APs do that other policemen on the beat cannot do? What do the GSU do that the AP cannot do? Remember, we've even had units that are referred to anti-stock theft. So, there are specific duties that are perhaps assigned to our security forces, and with that comes a tag and an indication of what they're supposed to do. I get it. But the broad strokes, GSU, administration police, for the longest time, APs were attached to the chief's office. That's how it was understood. And then, with the time, that evolved, and they became a whole unit on their own, with their own director general, etc., 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 etc. No more being beholden to chiefs and attached to chiefs. So, what really are their functions? What are they supposed to do? They are an arm of the police force. What do they do? And what do the GSU do? And with reference to the services of providing security services for the politicians and those who can afford to pay for those services, what is unique about them? It's their training. It's their training.
So what you're saying, there's more specialized training for the GSU, so
as well as the AP.
Sure. Okay. That.
If you look at if you follow security matters in this country, and for the longest time, whenever we had issues in some places, whether it's banditry, whether it is clashes within communities, pastoral communities that are armed, the people who would be sent are the AP. AP, administration police. And when things got really thick, then you would hear cases where now the military is now being released to go and deal with the situation. And they seem to have a scorched earth policy when it comes to it. So, but it's in the training.
The last time CS Matiang'i appeared before this Parliamentary Committee on Security was the 13th of August, around that time, the 13th of August, okay? And at that time, what was reported was him responding to the issue of, remember that gentleman from Turkey who was reportedly deported, also linked to the deputy president? That is what was reported as the main thrust of the meeting between members of parliament playing their oversight role and the cabinet secretary in charge of security. In the country. That was the main issue that occupied the headlines. Okay? So when police officers are being killed in the course of duty by bandits who are heavily armed, when residents are being told you cannot get out and move around from 6 p.m. until 6 a.m. because the security agencies are trying to fight insecurity, because there are heavily armed people who are even attacking police officers on the ground, when a family is bearing 2 children who have allegedly been killed in the hands of police officers, when another family is moving up and down, we were speaking to somebody last week from Watamu who's saying, my brother was arrested. My brother was arrested by ATPU, and then the court ordered the ATPU to release my brother. The ATPU claims they released my brother. We have not seen my brother. They are looking for their kin. Our National Assembly is focused not on those matters, but on the matters of drama. Now I sit back and I ask myself, so really, when we talk about Parliament playing its oversight role, and we keep having these conversations with members of Parliament all the time when we invite them, do they understand their job? Do they understand that there are things that are more important to you and I than what they're actually dealing with, than what they seem to be giving a lot of attention to?
I think they do. And give me a little bit of room here.
Mm-hmm.
I think they understand their role. I think they know very well what it is that they're supposed to do to the letter. Because if you sit here, they will give you a litany of the expectations as are well understood by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They know this very well. But one thing I have always said, and I will say until I'm blue in the face, it is not their priority. You, as the citizenry over which they're supposed to now create legislation that will either protect, provide, or ensure your livelihood, provide for or ensure your livelihoods. That's it. It doesn't go beyond that. So when you expect that they should be talking about security situations in the country and summoning the CS to come and ask, so what is going to happen about the people whose livelihoods are in danger in West Pokot, about the people in Laikipia North who cannot take their cattle to graze without, this shadow of gloom hanging over them that somebody could actually come kill them, kidnap them, or steal their livestock. When you say there are people in Kurasoi who are being killed, when you say that there are young men who died and they needn't have died, and you're asking questions about security, it sounds harsh, but the truth of the matter is that they do not care. They do not. If they did, you would see a different kind of action. What kind of nonsense is this? How do we even start to explain it? That a National Assembly is going to sit and discuss issues of how one arm of the police was changed over another. And because it was a deputy president, we're going to sit and waste precious man hours as opposed to lives that are being lost in other parts of the country. As opposed to people who will never be able to come they will never be able to reconcile that their children died at the hands of police. They will never be able to reconcile that. There is insecurity all over the country. There are people who are disappearing every day. There are people who are dying. There is a drought in 11 counties in the country. 12. People are dying. Livestock are 12 counties. People are dying every day. People cannot eat. These are issues that need to be discussed. These are things that need to be done today, not tomorrow. They need to be done today. They need to be discussed. They need to be debated. They need to be actioned today.
Yep.
But we're talking about somebody is slighted because it was GSU today, it's AP tomorrow.
No, it's a businessman who's been arrested and deported.
You're asking, do they understand? I'm telling you.
That's national news.
That's national news. So you're asking the question that do they understand their role? 100% they do. They understand their role, but it is not their priority. And I'm sorry, but there are very few people who've gone into these positions who actually say, you know what, I want to go in there and make a difference for this country.
How does one demonstrate understanding? It's by what you do, isn't it?
Yes.
So if this is what they're doing, can we really claim that they understand their roles?
I just want to differ there with you, Ndu. I don't think these members of parliament actually understand the job that they should be doing. Listen to this. So for everybody who's joining us, today is the day that the CS for Interior, Fred Matiang'i, has been summoned by the National Security and Administration Committee of the National Assembly. And the chairman of this committee, Peter Muthui, says they want to establish why the deputy president's security was changed from GSU to administration police. Says Peter Muthui, the Limuru MP, the committee picked up this matter following public uproar and complaints by the office of the DP. We want him to tell us what's happening because there was outcry after the officers were replaced. We also want him to brief the committee on the general status of security. also want him to brief this.
As a by the way.
General status of security. But the main reason why it's because there's this public outcry because of the change of guard at the Deputy President's residence in Nairobi and other parts of the country. And this is why we have summoned you. This coming about 17 days after the last meeting where they had summoned the same interior CS to come and talk about why a businessman had been deported, why a businessman had been arrested. In between, there have been issues of general security, as they call it, that are making Kenyans not sleep at night. There are when you hear there's a curfew between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m., don't think people are now sleeping peacefully.
No, right, in
there's
their
a
homes,
curfew, so even the thugs are not going to come and kill us. No, people are sleeping outside. People are sleeping under trees, watching because they don't know who's going to attack them at night. But Mr. Peter Mwadhi and his committee, that is not an issue. That's a general security issue. You know, we can find out one day or the other. They understand their work. I say no, they don't.
If you're looking for a patented demonstration of ignorance, it's this one. Because, in all honesty, ask yourself this simple question. Huh? What really ought to take priority right now? Right now, as we speak. We have a health crisis on our hands, and we've had it, and it continues. How often do you hear the health secretary being called to say, folk, look, we have a situation called COVID and others, and we are told you're dealing with it. Can you explain to Parliament how exactly you're going about some of these things? Because this situation seems to keep getting worse. The situation about vaccination, we want everybody in this country to be vaccinated. What are you doing about it? Then, Minister for Agriculture, 12 counties are on the brink of generally dying and being washed away by hunger and other related issues. Please come and tell us what it is that you're doing so that the nation understands the steps that you have taken to ensure that our brothers and sisters are being taken care of. This same Matiang'i could have been summoned to explain all these other issues that have occurred. But no. Have they called the minister for roads, transport, and whatever else, logistics?
You know what I'm saying is a worse off situation than not just understanding. This is what I'm saying. That is actually, it is monumentally worse than what you're saying. Because I am saying that it's even like
they understand, but they have contempt.
It is contempt. That is exactly what it is. It is worse than not understanding, because not understanding means that you can equate it to a child is saying, okay, well, I failed my exam because I didn't really understand what the teacher was teaching during class. Now, in this case, you understood exactly what the teacher was teaching. You understood exactly what your roles and responsibility was. Here was the question. You knew the answer, but you chose deliberately to write something else or to leave it blank.
You asked 2 plus 2, you wrote 7.
You know it is 4. You write 7. In fact, you don't write anything. You just say, this exam, let me go and play outside.
You draw a cow.
You understand it completely, but you choose. It's even worse than not understanding. That's what I'm saying.
Actually, the point you make is a valid one. The exception to it is this. You are assuming qualities that these individuals don't have, and you're assuming it on their behalf. There is this understanding you seem to have that they grasp the import of the situation. They understand it. They don't.
No, I'm saying they grasp the import of their responsibility and their job description in that position.
I'm saying
they know what they're supposed to do. No. They choose not to do it. They're showing you each and every day how they really feel about the citizenry upon which they're supposed to oversight. Upon these processes that they're supposed to oversight. They understand it, but they are regarding it with contempt. They don't prioritize it. They don't implement what they're supposed to do. They don't look at it with importance. You see them clamoring about when somebody will be able to gain some kind of political expediency in a position that they should be able to take. Watch and see. Today, on the floor of that house, anybody who's going to stand up and talk is supposed to be somebody who will be allied, supposedly, to the deputy president. Will be somebody who says it really doesn't matter if you're on the other side of the divide. They are showing you each and every single day how they actually feel about you. Mine is, can't you just wake up and see? See, they're showing you. They're not even hiding it. They're not even hiding it. They understand their role.
Consider this perspective.
And it's even worse, CT, because they understand it. They
the
choose.
This is the point.
I
don't share that belief with you. Up to the point of
get it.
what they think about you, that one I get, and I believe to it.
CT, line them up here today, one by one. All how many? 290.
Let's start with just this committee.
Okay, let's just start with this committee. 12?
Yes.
12? Yes? 12. Line them up here. To the letter. That thing you said on paper, like UHC on paper, brilliant. They will tell you. They understand.
So if you ask them, what's the mandate of the administration and security
committee? They will say it left to right, back to front, front to back, beginning to end, in 5 different languages. They will tell you exactly what it is. They understand it.
Let me explain where I'm coming from. This is something that I gleaned when I was being trained as a teacher in the previous century. And it was on the subject of the relaying of information, your understanding of it, and whether being in class and having taken in that information then means that you have understood or that you are learned. Now, one may say, my friend, come on, you're playing with words. Actually, I am, yes, but with good reason. You see, there's something called a competing interest. And this competing interest is something we keep seeing when we discuss those in leadership, whether it's political or in any sphere, where there is the interest that pertains to public good or common good as opposed to the individual interest and the individual good. Okay? It's being demonstrated here. Now, when you have these two competing perspectives at play, which one do you think trumps the other? And
the one that's selfish.
Precisely. Now, can I then say that somebody whose entire mind is occupied by things that concern them and only them, can we then say that they really fully have a grasp of what's happening? Or is it that their entire vision is actually clouded by this thing that they want to pursue and which they consider to be important? Now, if that is the state that they are in, I know I'm being a bit philosophical about this one, then it means they don't have the capacity to fully understand it. That's where I'm coming from. They have crippled themselves.
And I'm saying it's even
now. You're saying it's worse.
I'm saying it is worse than that.
Oh, it's worse than that.
Because can you imagine? You're looking at this entity that has a capacity to fulfill and understand certain things. And in my opinion, they have grasped it. They know what it is that they're supposed to do. Have a conversation with them today. You think they don't know that they're supposed to now start
regurgitating the rule book and telling us what doesn't mean you understand it. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
If you sit one-on-one, somebody now sits with you as Bwana CT. I'm going to explain to you. I understand. I know these are the problems. But right now, where I'm sitting, the one that trumps this is now that competing interest that you're talking about. Isn't it infinitely worse that somebody understands and has the power to change a situation and understands how bad things really are, but chooses, a matter of choice is what we're talking about here, chooses not to act on it? To me, it is infinitely worse than not understanding. In this case, you understand, you know what you ought to do, you understand your role and responsibility as plays in this entire thing, but you choose over and over again, consciously or unconsciously, to go in the opposite direction because those competing interests have taken center stage. It is infinitely worse than not understanding. And I'm saying that is the state that our leaders are in today. You understand, you know, you are aware of the gravity of the situation, but you choose to discuss things that don't bloody matter every time.
Bottom line is that we have cases of insecurity in the country that need some serious attention. Cases of insecurity that have actually led to the CS for Interior to invoke a law and impose a curfew in some parts of this country where people are not supposed to be outside after 6 p.m. 6 p.m., my friend.
You know the sun hasn't gone down yet.
6 p.m.
Businesses are
you
up
are supposed to be indoors at 6 p.m. Our National Assembly is not addressing that. Our National Assembly is not addressing the fact that people were killed. The day before yesterday, police officers were attacked. Okay? Police officers were attacked in this particular area. It was in the news yesterday that there was a fresh attack somewhere at the border of Elgeyo-Marakwet County and West Pokot County. Governor Lonyangapuo is out asking, sasa tutalilia nani? our members of the National Assembly are not following this as a public outcry by citizens of this republic. They are following something else as a public outcry. And today they have summoned the CS for Interior to go and answer why the Deputy President has police officers guarding him.
And not just...
As opposed to the other police officers.
As opposed to police officers guarding him.
Isn't it dizzying?
No.
That is the focus of a meeting today.
It's instructive.
That our CS should actually be sitting there to discuss. Okay, so yes, does the Deputy President have police officers guarding him? Yes.
So why are these police officers guarding him as opposed to the other police officers who are guarding him?
Because they are police officers.
And you look at the training, they have the same training.
28 minutes to 8 o'clock. Let's take this break, take a look at the traffic, and then we'll hear from you as well. You can contribute to this conversation and the conversation we're having this morning. Do our members of parliament really understand the job that we've given them? Because we have given them the job. Do they understand this job? Are they giving it the priority that it deserves? Or are they giving their own understanding of the job the priority that it deserves? Good morning.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Hello.
Halo, umesikia?
Nimesikia nini?
Hujasikia habari? Hebu acha nikuambie. Kile kimetokea.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Don't wait for hearsay. Dial star 550 star 2 hash to read the Nairobian e-paper from the convenience of your mobile phone for only 20 shillings from your telecom line and stay up to date. The hottest talk of town with no additional charges.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
So we are still looking at cloudy conditions in Nairobi. We're going to go to highs in Nairobi today of 21 and lows of 15. We'll see highs of 26 in Nyeri. Looking at other parts of the country, in Nakuru, we'll see highs of 22. We'll see highs of 21 in Eldoret. Looking out into Kisumu, we'll see highs of 29, coming down to lows of 17. And in Malindi, highs of 29. Rainy conditions today, coming down to lows of 17. Looking out into Kampala, 22 degrees, cloudy conditions, highs of 29 and lows of 26. And in Dar es Salaam, 30 degrees, rainy conditions in some parts, partly cloudy throughout most of the day, coming down to lows of 20. Out into Kinshasa, it's a rainy morning, highs of 30 and lows of 26.
There are so many people peddling what is false and that it bears remarkable resemblance to what is true.
Politicians have their agenda, and their agenda is to use every opportunity to sell that agenda and to loot this nation.
I have seen major strides that are done in this country when we talk to each other as against talking at each other.
We start getting back into the tribal cocoons which were put to us by the colonial powers. You know, they gave us physical freedom but not mental freedom. We're still mentally colonized today into these cocoons of tribe.
Now, if you live in an area where it's difficult to find a dog,
he's a goat. I kid you not.
In which part of this country is it difficult to find a dog? So that you resort. Nafandi umbo yako iko na
nini umba special.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
All right, still looking at it, hot and heavy coming off Mombasa Road this morning, and quite some inbound. Industrial areas also looking quite jam-packed right now. Lunga out towards Likoni Road. On the Likoni Exchange, then on Mombasa Road today, going out towards the Southern Bypass, quite some traffic there. Use the Southern Bypass. The ICD route also looks pretty good today, coming off Mombasa Road, using the long route to get out into the city. There's an option for you to use today. Langata Road, my goodness, don't even think about it. Well, and if you're already there, it's going to be a slow snake into the city. Bagathi Way, not looking bad either as you get to the roundabout. Coming off from Gong Road, that's all right. Get your way through to the city via Valley Road or down through Community. The CBD is starting to be a gridlock, so you want to check out that. Uhuru Highway then from the Nyeri Stadium roundabout out to the city centre through to Westlands. We still have that closure. It was supposed to have been opened by now. But we'll look at that and see what happens in the coming days. All right. The Thika Superhighway still packed coming out of survey through to the Pangani underpass. Let's watch out for these guys. Tell us where you're stuck in case you are. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text on 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
All right.
Nairobi.
So thousands of innocent lives lost on the roads every day, unfortunately. While so many are left dealing with the devastating effects of these losses, and they come from car crashes, vehicle crashes on our roads. Majority of these are attributed to human-related behavior, human error, including speeding, drink driving, dangerous overtaking, distracted driving, or not wearing your safety equipment, failure to do this. Also, lack of safety gear such as helmets, reflector jackets, among others. We're addressing these issues and trying to look at these challenges presented on our roads. And we're calling on every road user to be responsible. Play your part, as everything can change in a split second. What are you doing to make sure that you're protecting yourself and other road users? We're trying to make sure that our roads are safe and for everybody to take responsibility. Usalama Barabarani, Fika Salama, a message brought to you by the NTSA and the European Union.
0719-012-600 or SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. Do our politicians really understand the job that we've given to them? There was a building that collapsed in Gashie.
Yes.
It was reported. It's in the news.
Yes.
Have we seen area member of parliament, newly minted area member of parliament, making a statement about this matter?
No, we've only heard of the governor who said this building had been condemned.
Mm-hmm.
5-story building, it had started caving in, meaning it became the leaning building of Gashie, not the leaning tower of Pisa. Yes. And the owner, who's mentioned by name, can't be found for the time being, but it is said he has friends in the national government. 3 people have so far died. 10 have been rescued. And the rescue operation is still going on. Because when it collapses with people inside it. So we could still be counting more and more people dead. The question here, you're talking security. Okay, there are codes, there are basic requirements that must be fulfilled before you're licensed to actually put up a building. Clearly something went wrong. But there's something more insidious that I'd like to look at. The quality of the products that we put into these buildings, like cement. Okay? I am certain that there are organizations in this country that look at standardization. How do you explain, for instance, some cement factories and businessmen selling cement at a much cheaper rate than others and yet claiming to have the same quality? This is what I'm saying. I have to say it clearly. I think that some of the problems we have within the building industry have to do with poor quality of products that are actually put in these buildings. And yet, why am I bringing it in? Well, it is a security issue because anything that threatens the life of people is a security issue. And if people who are supposed to ensure that these standards are upheld are not being upheld, what then are the security forces doing to ensure that you enforce these bylaws that guarantee our safety in every aspect of our lives? Anything that threatens the livelihood of Kenyans is a security issue. Do we hear these things being brought up even by people, as you say correctly, who are members of parliament and whose people's lives are in danger? Do you hear them standing up to say, excuse me, I have an issue here. My people's lives are actually being affected because of this, and this.
We need to review this. We need to look at this.
Yes, and could you please explain to us what it is that you're doing? Now, this is something we don't see.
And this is what makes you say that you don't think they understand the job.
Actually, they don't. Because understanding ought to be demonstrated by not what you say or a repetition of what the requirements are, but what you do. That is what, in my mind, demonstrates fully understanding. When somebody understands their actions tell you they have understood. But if somebody is just talking about understanding it and doing something completely opposite, I'm afraid I have to say they don't understand.
This one does not understand.
No, they don't understand it. Because if they understood it, then I would see something different. Yes.
I think you're letting them off easy. I think you're saying, oh, you know what? They're not doing this because they don't understand. So we should actually understand that they don't. That's why they're not doing their job. And I'm saying the situation is worse than that. That because they do and they choose not to. Because the ideal situation, right? According to these definitions that you're giving. And then if you want to look at it philosophically, or even if you want to look at it practically, right? Somebody understands something, they do based on this understanding, right? Now, isn't it warped? And I'm even going to go to the side of disgusting. That somebody understands something, bypasses this action, which would then make sense as a result of the understanding, and goes in the total opposite direction. Infinitely worse. You're letting them off easy, my friend.
No.
By saying, the problem that we are seeing in this country.
If they understood, they'd have started coming this direction, but then they're just slow in
If they had understood, they would have done the job.
There's
It's because they don't understand. So what we need to do, maybe, is get people who then do understand, then they will do.
There's an African way
worse.
of explaining things which they find a bit befuddling. They say this person is bewitched. Meaning they're looking at the behavior.
We are Merogwa.
There's something, yes, now. Are we saying Wamerogwa?
I am saying it takes a special, and in this
you
case,
are the one
special.
your thinking of them is one that's closer to being Kurogwa.
Actually,
Ndu's thinking is Hawajarogo or Meturoga.
That they have taken that position and they've warped it so that it even played with your mind so much that you say, you know what?
You look for an excuse for them.
The reason why they're behaving this way is because they don't really get it. But if we had individuals who got it, it would only make sense. The next logical conclusion would be that from your base of understanding, you would behave in a certain manner. And I'm telling you that here it is. They've told you they understand. They know very well that they understand. Then don't read book tire. They know exactly what it is that they're supposed to do. But because they know that it is them that they're there for, not for you. That they can do whatever it is that they want.
I have Karanja on the line. Let's hear Karanja. Good morning, Karanja.
Good morning, Eric, City, and you. How are you?
Fine, thank you, Karanja. How are you this morning?
I'm very fine. It has rained very well here in Naivasha.
It's raining very well.
Yes, yesterday.
Very good.
Yes, Now, I think the parliament have abdicated their primary rules on representation and legislation. Why? Why do you have this polemic, address debates about the deputy president? You see, in parliament, I think there are those committees who are very corrupt, who doesn't know their rule. How can they censure the CS Minister for Interior to come and ask a question about security? This is something that is not good to discuss it in front of the camera. The security of a person, yes, in fact, surely. In fact, the security of a deputy president or the president, he is a state officer. Why should they give this in front of the camera and tell Kenyans that we are now trying to do this because the president has been electoral embarrassed? This is total distortion. It is a tautology. In fact, it is waste of people's mind and it is a waste of resources. These people are being paid.
Thank you, Karanja.
Thank you very much.
Asante sana. Asante.
Do I ask you a question?
Please do.
When someone refers to another as being daft, what do they mean?
They enter. As in...
Short circuit.
It's not getting through.
Blocked.
Yeah, people say that, somehow some screw, some nut is loose. No, tight. It's not loose. It's very tight.
Nothing is getting through here.
It's very tight.
Yes.
Now, the analogies I'm giving, I am not downplaying what you're saying. I'm just saying consider this perspective. When someone is in a position of authority and power, and as you correctly put it, even of knowledge, and they do not act or they don't use the knowledge that is their purview for the purposes for which it was intended. And you can visibly see this.
Mm-hmm.
And they do this repeatedly.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying, yes, the perspective you have is absolutely correct. It bespeaks of people who don't give a damn about you, who don't care. But there's something that this is a dog with a bone situation here. I'm not going to let go of. There is a certain level of intelligence we assume and we attach to these individuals. Remember, these individuals, before they get to parliament, are all these positive things that you're saying. They get to parliament and they become parliamentarians. I've asked this question before. Then you see the transformation. In fact, there's not even a transformation, it's a transfiguration. Because suddenly, whereas the transfiguration we speak of once saw a bright light, here we don't see a dim light, here we see darkness. Suddenly, you ask the simple question, surely, but I thought this is very fairly simple and easy and straightforward. The simple and straightforward ceases to be simple and straightforward. It becomes convoluted.
Mm-hmm.
And I am saying that because they are in that environment, something happens. And that something is what I'm referring to. I'm saying this knowledge you assume that they have because they can regurgitate what they're supposed to do, what they're supposed to understand. And that it bespeaks of knowledge and understanding. I'm saying no.
It's not a loss of understanding because you yourself have just said that before they get into these positions, they're all right. These are people who will come and tell you certain things and you understand, okay, we're of the same understanding. But then they get into this position and it seems as though they no longer pay, allegiance to that which they did before. So it is not that they have lost understanding. It's not that they have lost knowledge. It's just that they get to this place whereby they realize, hold on a minute, I can actually work for me.
Do you realize
it's not that they don't understand it less.
Do you realize you've just described loss of knowledge? You've described it very articulately.
No, it's not
clearly.
a loss. It's not a loss. They've put it aside.
And that doesn't amount to a loss?
No, I've not lost it. I've put it on the back burner. That has not disappeared. You've put it aside because a priority of something else has taken position that had taken before. It is put aside. And that's what I'm telling you. That you know exactly. In fact, it's criminal. If you want to go biblical, what do they say? Something that you know you're supposed to do, but that you choose not to do is a sin. If you ask me, it's criminal. That people have been put under your responsibility. You have understanding and knowledge of what it is that you're supposed to do. You have been given a position to preside over this with these tools that you have. And still you choose not to do it. You choose now to focus on these things that, for goodness sake, if we want to come to really the nitty-gritty, it doesn't matter. That's the truth. But what does matter? People are dying. What does matter? There's a famine in this country. What does matter? There's violence that is being meted upon communities by another because they have temporary power. And it can be sorted out by the ministries that we have. It can be sorted out. But then you're summoning somebody to discuss something that doesn't make sense? You've taken the priority and you've put it aside.
Can I flip it a little bit? In fact, add some fuel into this fire. If we look at what the National Security and Administration Committee chairperson in the National Assembly, the Limuru MP Peter Muthui is saying, he's saying that the committee has summoned CS Dr. Fred Matiang'i following public uproar and complaints by the office of the DP. Public uproar is what they are picking from the public, what they are consuming from the discourse out there. That discourse out there is being told by the media. So if you look at the last headlines since that day of the change of guard at the Deputy President's home, headlines on the front pages of our newspapers, the main newspapers, the top 3 stories on radio and TV have been about this particular matter. Change of guard, the response by the the Police Inspector General, Ruto's also response saying, it doesn't really matter if it's G4S. It doesn't really matter. We've given it headlines. How many headlines have you seen talking about the insecurity in these parts? How many headlines on front page headlines or top 5 story headlines have you seen talking about the curfew that has been imposed for people 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. because of the level of insecurity?
In the country.
In the country. How many have you seen us talking about the number of police officers who've been killed. Not these ones who've been taken to Karen. The ones who are out there and they are being killed by bandits. How many headlines?
While trying to provide security.
While trying to provide security. Does it also now shine a spotlight on us, the media? Are we highlighting what is less important than what should be important? Is it that we also do not understand what really the people want to see? Or are we just reflecting what the people want to see?
You know, you raise a pertinent issue. In fact, you raise a really pertinent issue. In fact, let me repeat it. You raise an extremely pertinent issue. Because this is something we do repeatedly. So are we saying that we in the media are not alive to the plight of other Kenyans, that we think that all these other matters that we keep raising are the things that we should actually inform the general public about? And that every time there's a political issue, this is what ought to take center stage in our lives?
The headline today is that the CS has been summoned because DP Ruto has a 10-day test as Matiang'i faces MPs.
That this is what...
Is this the biggest national security issue today?
And as a responsible part of this particular community we call the Kenyan country, is this the best way of using the powers that are at our disposal to ensure that we inform the public? Because we seem to be determined to shape the conversation around our politics and not about the reality, the dire situations that we have within the country.
Let's pick two calls. Esther in Mombasa. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
Very well. How have you been, Esther?
How is everybody? I've been well. Thank you. I want to just contribute on two issues. The first thing is, I want to be where I am and feel safe. I cannot say that maybe the deputy president is feeling unsafe, but that action that was done, the media has already done its best. In fact, the media should never be blamed at all. They already highlight things according to what they see and they report it to us. There are people sitting on their jobs who are not doing their jobs. When somebody is not able to walk freely, wherever they go, whether I live here and go to Moyale or something, I have to walk freely. And I remember there was a conversation about the borders, security. There is somebody responsible about ensuring the security of Kenyans in their docket, which is a deliverable for them. They should be the ones that are being summoned by the CS or whoever it is that is in power. They should be able to tell them this is what you're supposed to do and why hasn't it been done? Who are these intruders? Who are these intruders? Because they are not the Kenyan citizens who are sitting there waiting to be secured. It is somebody who has come in, and if they are bandits, where did they come from? They came in from somewhere. No wonder we are now hearing these people are being killed left, right, and center. And it is very unfortunate because, on the other hand, that is about the security part of it. I am really complaining. When we come to the people at not understanding their role, we only give them like 5 months. In fact, probation is 6 months. 6 months, you should be able to understand what you're expected to do in your political office. If you are not able to, you know the person you report to, who is maybe the governor or the other people up there, they should summon you and check on your performance and remove you. That is what happens in the employees' side of view. But when somebody comes and says they are not able to understand their role, that is not true. They are given every resource. Do you know the government gives you all the resources you need to deliver your mandate? Then here you are not delivering. You are not even aware what is happening right now. I don't like the political angle that everybody has picked that we are on a political mode of elections. That should stop. In fact, it should stop and should be picked up next year. This thing, we should be delivering on those things that you have talked about. The buildings, the water, the roads, the everything else, the health, all these things. But when it comes to politicians, they know what they are supposed to do. And if they are eating, God is on their side. We all know what is going to happen.
Thank you very much,
again,
Esther.
we don't have Kenyans who can ask them for accountability. Nobody is bold enough to face their politician, ask them, why haven't you come to see this building? Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Priscilla in Nakuru, good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Good Very morning, well, Priscilla.
Thank you.
How have you
long
been, Priscilla?
Long time. Very fine, but cold. I'm actually in Molo now.
Where did you disappear to?
She moved from Nakuru to
Molo.
Molo.
No, yeah, but I've been, of course, listening to you guys.
Good.
Yeah. Now, my my contribution actually is contrary to what Esther has just said, although I agree with her. However, I blame members of the Fourth Estate. Every time you get a newspaper, you listen to the radio, you go on TV, it is just about politicians and what they are saying. And no wonder now, Ruto is taking center stage. His security matters are taking center stage. If you guys focused on what was happening on the ground, all these things that you're saying, people's insecurity, that is what everybody would be talking about, the nation would be talking about. And that's why I tuned to SpiceFM, because you guys have, you have, that's what you talk about, many conversations.
Yeah.
I am so fed up with these guys taking center stage. I'm no longer watching news. I look at newspapers, I turn the first few pages because it is about them.
You'll find that our news being on page 7, 8, 10, the news that matters to the people. Thank you very much, Priscilla.
The news that matters to the people is from page 7 onwards. So you make it about us, and the whole nation will focus about us.
Asante.
So, thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Lovely day.
The question that comes to the fore. When we talk about the media, are we talking about the profession of journalism and the principles by which it should be guided, the entire media process, or are we talking about the media having joined the rest of Kenyans in their entrepreneurship, and that instead of actually being journalists, we become media entrepreneurs? Because we are then asking the question, the hard question is that, are we in the media pushing the agendas of certain individuals as opposed to looking at the truth as it ought to be looked at? Are we participating in this?
As opposed to public interest?
As opposed to public interest and simply looking at issues and not pushing an agenda.
In your opinion, which is of bigger public interest? The security of the Deputy President of the Republic, second highest office in the land, or the security of some...
In my opinion, the issue of the security
of some pokot somewhere.
In my opinion, the issue of the security of the Deputy President was never in question because he has security. Yes. Simply put, there never was an issue. We have made it an issue.
Okay.
Yes.
Keep it right here. Conversations continue to the next hour, and we will ask you to join the conversation again by calling in and by sending your messages on social media. SpiceFM KE. We are live streaming the show on Twitter. We're also live streaming the show on YouTube and on Facebook, SpiceFM KE. Have you also checked out our website, www.spicefm.co.ke? A very good morning to you. It's now 8 a.m.
Spice up your life.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Asseto. Interior CS Fred Matiang'i is expected before the Security Committee in Parliament. Matiang'i is expected to shed light on the reasoning behind the reshuffling of Deputy President William Ruto's security. The meeting is being held despite the Deputy President asking Parliament to focus on ensuring that Kenyans are secured wherever they are.
Mimi natosheka na askari yeyote ambaye ameletwa hapa. Wale wa AP ni professional security personnel. Wale wa GSU ni professional security personnel. Ile mimi nataka niulize bunge, watumie muda wao kupanga na kuhuzisha wale wanaosimamia usalama, kuhakikisha ya kwamba tuko na askari ya kutosha wa vitengo zote katika sehemu zile tuko na changamoto ya usalama katika taifa letu la Kenya.
Nandi Governor Stephen Sang has called upon Musalia Mudavadi to go to the Wananchi to ask for votes as we approach the 2022 general elections. He says that the meetings Oka leaders are having in state houses and hotels will not help convince Wananchi that they are the best candidate.
Ndugu yangu Mwana Musalia, sasa wewe tunataka hiyo safari unakuaga state house pale Mombasa, unapiga story huko ndani, hatujui umesema nini, unapiga picha hapa hivi. Mwenye nyumba hiyo ya state house, ukiona maneno yake, ameamua kwamba anatakia ODM kiti ya urais, lakini anataka kuzungusha nyinyi muendelee kukaa na yeye tu, badala ya kutafuta kura kwa raia. Mnatoka State House Nairobi, mnaenda State House Mombasa, mnarudi Nairobi. Wakati hiyo mtu anazunguka Kenya hii akitafuta kura. Ile wakati wewe unalia like kiti imepeanwa kwa yule muungwana, wewe hauna time ya kurudi kwa raia.
This as ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi made it clear that there is no possibility of him working with Ruto. He insists that he is the best candidate who will revive the economy.
Nataka niombe wa Kenya msichague watu wenye hasira bana. Na ukweli usemwe. Mkiangalia runinga kesho, ukiangalia sura ya Ruto, hasira. Ukiangalia sura ya Raila, hasira. I'm asking you Kenyans, when you look at me, do you see anger?
Education CS George Magoha has set Friday as the deadline for parents to ensure that students who took their KCPE examination last year report to secondary schools, else they will be arrested and prosecuted. Magoha said that the ministry will use police officers to conduct house-to-house search in collaboration with chiefs and their deputies to arrest parents who deny their children their right to education.
After Friday, we shall turn to the parents and to find out if we find that you are keeping a child at home and the child is not in school. These policemen have pingos. Ama yako hapana iko. We shall arrest them.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Inbound on Mombasa Road this morning, headed to the city centre, is actually moving very slowly today. Industrial area, that's another one for the books today. Makadara, the station on Jogo Road. A lot of traffic there, heading then towards the City Stadium roundabout. We're also looking at heavy traffic on Langata Road today. Headed toward the Wilson Airport, you might want to turn around and go the long way to Ngong Road and then get out into the city that way. That is moving without an issue. It looks like today is another day where we have to go out in order to go in. Okay, let's take a look into the city centre. Quite a lot of traffic. Everybody feeding into the CBD today. Coming off Uhuru Highway, going past Haile Selassie into the city. Coming off Ngong Road, coming off the Thika Super Highway. Everybody's coming into the city today. And a lot of traffic then as a result of that. Where it wasn't, it is now on the Thika Super Highway, quite hot and heavy, all the way from Survey through to the Moy Avenue, rather the Globe Cinema overpass. Right in the middle of traffic hour. That's what we're looking at right now. So guys, let's talk through it and see. Hopefully we'll get out without too much of a scratch. All right. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your...
Very good morning to you, and how are you doing? Welcome to the new month. This is the first day of September 2021, and this is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. CT, today's proverb.
If there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do you no harm.
If there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do you no harm.
No.
All right. That's a good one. That's a good one. Good morning to people who are watching us now on KTN Home. You are with us for the next 1 hour. However, this conversation takes place every weekday morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on SpiceFM. We are glad that you're joining us. Now, there's something that's been happening lately. And this is everybody you talk to has either been reached out to or has been added into a group or has been added into a group where you're, offering prayers or contributions to somebody who is battling COVID-19. There are people who will go even onto Twitter and say, you know what, guys, I have tested positive for COVID-19. Fortunately, I am under home-based care. I'm going through the motions. I'm fine. And then there are those who are in hospital, who are battling COVID-19, and there are those who are then looking for avenues to get into hospital. I was speaking to a doctor the other day, and he's telling me, just like the interior, not the interior, the health CS Muthui told us a couple of weeks ago, hospitals in Nairobi, if you fall sick and you need hospitalization, and at that point it's an emergency, you need oxygen, you need to go to hospital. The likelihood of you getting a hospital in Nairobi is slim to almost none. Someone called a certain health facility, and people were looking, they want to take their loved one to a health facility, and they're calling their friends. I know you are the medical superintendent in charge of a certain health facility. Can we bring this patient there? And that person says, absolutely not. We are full. Please, can you just do anything? Unless you bring your patient, they sit here and wait for another patient to die. That's when a bed will be available. And then those that get into hospital and start hospitalization, within a very short time, in 5, 6, 7 days, you see the family now calling out for assistance. Why? The bills. You're in groups where people are talking about the bill is rising. It has hit 1.5 million. It has hit 2 million shillings, and it continues to rise. It has hit over 700,000 shillings. It continues to rise. We are going to bury so-and-so who passed away as a result of COVID-19, and we have a hospital bill of 1 million shillings. Please help us raise this money as we also plan the funeral. This is left, right, and center for many people. I know I have seen these messages more than once. Today, this morning, I was just looking through my phone, and there are like 4 messages. People who are calling out for support, and the hospital bills are more than 1 million shillings each. There's one who is 2.7 million shillings, and they're still in hospital. Now, earlier, CT, you were reading the statistics from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, from the 2019 census, where they were asking us all those questions.
Yes.
And what percentage of Kenyans do not have medical insurance?
81%.
81% do not have medical insurance.
And of the 19% who have, 17.5 are on NHIF. So the other 1 point, they're the ones who have other healthcare considerations, with, like insurance and what have you. But 81, as I said, are left the vagaries of... Yes.
The cost of healthcare in Kenya is high. The cost of healthcare in this country now during COVID-19, people battling COVID-19, is seriously high. What's happening?
Well, I think there are a number of things that are happening here. We're already dealing with the initial costs of medical care being extremely expensive when you don't have insurance. I mean, and for those who are really amongst, clearly from those numbers, the privileged few to have health insurance. And we're not even talking about any hoity-toity insurance. We're talking about, being able to meet the basic. And we know that NHIF actually can cover quite some. So there are a number of issues happening here. Healthcare is expensive. Medical insurance is only available to a few. The national insurance that we hope would then be available to the majority of the population just has not been able to happen for a number of reasons. So now with a situation that was already volatile, right? It's expensive. People are getting sick. People are then getting sick with many kinds of diseases that then need a lot in terms of money to be able to manage or cure, that it is expensive all around. So you're already dealing with a very shaky position. Now, the calls for many more people to get on the NHIF grid have been going on for a very long time. We're talking about years, right? Now, with all of that happening, then enter in one of the elements of the Big Four agenda, which was UHC, Universal Health Care for All, meaning that everybody in the country should be able to get on the grid, should be cared for. As that conversation was happening, 4 projects take place in the country across counties. In terms of a pilot project, they said, okay, let's go ahead with this. And then it stalls. While all of this is going on, COVID says, hello, here I am. Okay? And she's not a picker of who she's going to infect. She's not going to say, today I'll infect somebody who has medical insurance. Tomorrow I'll infect somebody who does not. It doesn't matter who you are. This disease is going to get everybody at some point or another, affected or infected. So you were already dealing with a very difficult situation where now you enter this disease that you need a very expensive method to take care. And we're talking about ventilation support because the majority of the people who get into hospital today, this is because apart from the ventilation support to make sure that your lungs can get back to, and some medicine that you're given, there's really nothing more in terms of interventions that are taking place here. So the expensive thing now is this oxygen that you're being put on when you're in hospital and the management of it, oftentimes in an ICU facility. So what we're dealing with was an already depressed health state in the country. And then now you're dealing with this in times of a pandemic. It just makes things all the more worse. Is there something we could do? Absolutely. Is there something in the meantime that can be done to mitigate this? Yes. And one of the big ones that a lot of countries are doing right now is vaccinating their populations at a rapid rate. And we are saying can we vaccinate people at a quicker rate and at least form that first line of protection to make sure that even if they do get sick, that they will not need this hospital care that we are saying is so expensive. Right? It's been said, in many cases said that you can get COVID even after being vaccinated. Yes, you can. But will you be hit with as severe a symptom as you would if you had not been? So I think there are many things that need to be done. We know that the whole health sector just needs one big overhaul, and so many things need to be done to be put in place. But today, the today problem that we're dealing with, more people are getting sick. The space and the facilities that are available to treat the country's sick are few and far between. And we're having an overflowing of situation. You ask me that's what's happening? That is what is happening. Are we able to catch up? No. I remember very clearly Dr. Mercy Correa when she said one thing about a year and a half ago. We're running after COVID. And I think it's very sad that even today, almost 2 years later, we are still running after COVID. And there are certain interventions that could have been taken that unfortunately have not been. At least not at the acceleration that we hope they should have been.
You know, COVID came with very many things, and we talked about livelihoods, okay? That livelihoods bit, we're looking at it from the point of lockdowns and people losing their jobs, lockdowns and people taking pay cuts, lockdowns and people having to close their businesses. But we forgot the one other bit of livelihoods, which is what is happening right now with COVID. As numbers continue to rise across the country, the health ministry has already told us the numbers that they're giving us, they have no clue what the actual number is, because these are not the actual numbers. What we are seeing in the community is that more and more people are getting hospitalized at whatever level of hospital in this country. And when they come out, they're coming out with heavy bills. The other livelihood that is happening is that hospitalization due to COVID-19 is impoverishing people. When you come out of hospital with a bill of 3 million shillings, and you know very well that none of this is covered by insurance, right. So even those that have insurance, it's not sorting out. Even those that have NHIF, it's not able to sort out this. It means that the entire community has to contribute and pay that 3 million shillings. And it's not for one person. It is 3 million shillings for this person today, 3 million shillings for the other person today, tomorrow 1.2 million shillings, 800,000 shillings, 1.7 million shillings, 2.6 million. Just keep throwing in the numbers. And it's the same people who have to contribute. You start by asking the family, how much do you have, so that then we can contribute. The person who's been sick, the person who's thankfully come out of hospital, or the person who has sadly died, they start first of all by removing how much money they had saved to pay that hospital bill, and then the rest of the community tops up. We have a serious livelihood crisis unfolding as we speak because of COVID-19 hospitalization.
And what exacerbates it is something very fundamental in that these healthcare facilities that are supposed to take care of our citizenry, even in the absence of COVID, and now with the introduction of COVID, the very upgrade of the facilities to meet the demands that we knew were coming, even that has been riddled with issues upon issues upon issues, which means that even when you talk about the outlay of funds that have been given for this very purpose, you find that what was expected to have been done in very many cases has not been done. And COVID clearly isn't leaving our shores soon. If anything, it's intensifying and entrenching itself with the new variants and everything else that comes with it. Remember, when we talk of COVID, we ought to be talking about what is actually being treated. It isn't COVID that's being treated. It's what it opens you up to and what it brings about because of its infection. Now, some of these are things that ordinarily had been treated because if you had a shortness of breath, we now introduce a ventilator. If you have a problem of respiratory failure, that is now a crisis. If you have a situation where internal organs are suddenly shutting down, now that isn't a crisis, that is a catastrophe now. Now, if you don't have facilities that can take care of this and they aren't widespread enough, then what you're looking at is a situation where very many people are actually going to die. And I dare say, needlessly.
The headline in the Taifa Leo today, mortuary zajaa wafu wa COVID. It's been covered elsewhere as well in recent days. Mortuary zajaa wafu wa COVID. Now, the stories from this and what you've also, been picking out from the community is somebody actually dies in a hospital, COVID or any other. They cannot even be transferred to the mortuary of that health facility.
No.
Because it's full.
Overflowing, actually.
So the family has to look for an available space in a mortuary. And there are reports that there are some mortuaries that actually now just holding bodies on the floor. You just come, okay, can you promise that you're going to bury this person within the next 24 hours and remove them from here?
You know what that means, Eric, in real terms? It means that within the storage facility of the mortuary, they've already piled the bodies.
Yes.
Where there should have been one person, they're probably three. So that's full to capacity. If you've ever visited any of our mortuaries in a public hospital, you will be amazed. The process of looking for a body in that mortuary is an onerous task. Because what it means is sifting through other bodies for you to find the body you're looking for. When I say piled, they are literally piled on top of each other.
Yeah.
Literally. Now, with COVID, what do you think is happening? It's a very harrowing experience to go through. Very. But it's a reality that people are facing now.
It is. It is. And we're going to open up the phone line so that people can actually just call in and give their experiences. Experience of dealing with somebody who is battling COVID in hospital. Somebody, whether you've actually also battled COVID in hospital. What you've gone through in terms of the bills that you've had to pay. What you've gone through in terms of getting a hospital bed for a loved one in the country. This is a situation that's unfolding today. And unless we talk about it openly, we will continue just hiding it under the carpet and saying, our positivity rate, it's what today? 12%. There were 8 people who were reported dying yesterday. So when you look at and see, Ministry of Health says 8 people died yesterday. Okay, we are on top of this thing. We are on top of these things. We are not.
But what is it doing to families?
Well, it's decimating families on a daily basis. And that's what you talked about, the livelihood issue. So you can imagine there's so many little boxes that COVID has created, right? There's the economic issue, there's a health issue, there's, livelihoods, this, that, the other thing. So you can already see, like I said, there's already a depressed situation, and then you come and add this. So now somebody gets sick. I mean, by the grace of God, they're able to find a space in a facility, right? And thereafter that comes the bill, whereby a family was already struggling. And that's the reality of the day. Don't think that you're seeing people walking around in today's society with their head up and think that all is well. There are a lot of people that are suffering, either having been infected with COVID or being affected by the circumstances around COVID today. We have a health system that, unfortunately, if we want to be honest, because if we're having the honest conversation today, Eric, things are not working. The way in which we see things now is a very pathetic image of how it actually ought to be. It doesn't matter where you are. We cannot compare ourselves and say, well, in this other country, let's not even compare, because in this other country, at least we're doing better. At least no. There's a measure and a standard to which you set yourself, and we say, look, There are ways in which things ought to happen. This thing has caught everybody off guard. It doesn't matter where you are, government, home, work, corporate. It has caught everybody off guard. But we are saying, how about a time where you say an opportunity has then been presented to make things right, to make things better? It is not the situation in which let's just call it today. The situation in which we are right now, health-wise, is bad. It is pathetic because people cannot find space. And when they eventually do, what they have to then pay, either because they do not have health insurance or because that which they've been given is just not enough, or that which they've paid for is actually not enough to cover this. And we are being reminded a lot of times when you do go to hospital and you even do have insurance, the entire COVID bill is not going to be covered by that insurance. It will not happen. So the situation in which we are today is not good. We cannot continue having the announcements on a daily basis when the underbelly of things is actually worse than that. Calling out today and saying, look, the spot we are in is bad and it calls for things to get better. It calls for things to improve. Today, not tomorrow. Today.
We need to come back to that point where we were in March last year as a country and say, all right, so are we dedicating some resources to this? Are we calling back our National Assembly to come and discuss rededicating some budget to this? Because you really cannot say that, hospitals in Nairobi are full. I'm telling you, the hospitals in Nairobi are full. So watch out.
So?
Go to any part of the country and you will find hospitals are full. And just the other day, just before the county started receiving the money for this financial year, they had not even started, they were not receiving medicine. In fact, the CS for Health had to come out and plead with KEMSA to release medicine to the county hospitals, despite the fact that they have not paid. Do you know what was happening around that time? And even now it's still happening. There are many parts of this country where you'll go to a public hospital and the doctor will tell you this is the medicine that you need. Go buy it and bring for your patient. This is happening.
Do you know where you've transported me back to an era where the government introduced a concept that had hitherto not been heard of. It was called cost sharing. And it's the first time that you would go to hospital and you'd be told, thank you for coming. Could you please go and buy an exercise book so that the physician, the doctor, the healthcare provider can indicate what it is that is required, the medication, your date of return, etc., etc. Yeah. And you want some medication, it's in liquid form. Could you also come with a container?
Yeah. So, a small bottle.
Cost sharing. Now, the principle is not difficult to understand. But when you have a situation such as this one, let's start with first principles. Does our budget reflect the crisis, the health crisis that we have? Let's start there.
Before the crisis, CT, did the health budget reflect time? Just tell me.
I know it couldn't, but I also know that with HIV, the government got a very beautiful shot in the arm. Because HIV didn't just come with antiretrovirals. The healthcare program came with treatment for the opportunistic diseases that came with HIV, which means our healthcare system was able to take care of a lot more than they could in the past. If you look at total health expenditure in the country, not government budgeting, it comes to something like maybe 50-60 billion Kenya shillings. You look at our budget. If you add now, even with COVID, you add all the other things, it comes to maybe 200 billion, all right? 220 billion. So you're talking about another 100 plus billion that is part and parcel of this expenditure, which our government does not actually factor.
It's external support.
It is. Now, what does it say of your healthcare system when your external support rivals your own budgeting and even sometimes supersedes it? What does it tell you? How vague is your healthcare policy program strategy? How is it? Because you are actually dependent. For your citizens to be safe, you are dependent on other people providing you with health. What does that tell you?
On well-wishers.
Yes.
Let's hear from Anthony in Mombasa. Good morning.
Morning, station room.
Good morning.
How is Nairobi?
Good, Anthony.
Before we hit out again on the budget, since COVID hit us, we've received billions from the donors. Billions and billions. And these have been squandered because we don't see how they've been spent. Our government is busy in being in self-denial. They bury their head in the sand like the proverbial ostrich. Have you used the stretch of Thika Road to Ken of late? Have any one of you used that road?
What do you see?
There's a new mortuary there called Montessori.
Yep.
That place, pass there today, tomorrow, any other day, is fully packed. Vehicles are packed, people picking bodies.
Yep.
Why are people dying suddenly? It's COVID, of course.
Yep.
The other day, last week, someone posted on social media a private mortuary in Kirinyaga called Kibugi Funeral Home.
Mm-hmm.
And they stated that they've released 67 bodies in one day. The county government were the first one to deny and say it lies. But it's the truth. It's what was there, even if they deny. People on the ground saw it, and it's been happening. People are dying like flies, and the government is self-denial. They are lying to us. The statistics that the Ministry of Health is giving is total crap. That's what I say.
Thank
because
you,
the figures are cooked up, and it's not the reality. People are dying.
Yeah, the
There's
situation on the ground
way.
is very much different from what we are seeing. At 28 minutes after 8, let's take this break. We're live on SpiceFM online and also on KTN Home. We'll pick your calls after this break. 0719-012-600. That's 0719-012-600. Today, let's just share experiences, okay? We're talking about the costs of treatment for COVID-19. First of all, access to treatment for COVID-19. Have you or somebody that you love actually sought treatment for COVID-19? How easy or difficult is it to secure a bed in a health facility, public or private? And then how much have you had to pay for this? This is a conversation that needs to happen, and that's why we're opening it up. Time for a break. We'll be back shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
You know, when you see someone being jailed, a governor or two or someone who stole, then people will fear. Because our problem is not the borrowing, it's the stealing.
We've become actually a nation of thieves. The only thing we lack is an opportunity to steal.
The guys who quote the Bible and say, I'm a Christian and all that, and you know they're thieves. Return what you have stolen 4 times. If you know that you have property or anything that you have stolen, just return and say, my God does not allow me to hold stolen things.
We are also a reflection of you, because you elect us. You know, we don't get into our office by ourselves. We are a reflection of the people who elect us.
We don't want to go to the streets. We have a constitution that enables us, assert our will.
When the legislators are now being taken as hostage by the executive for whatever reason, we are now bound by what they want us to do.
This is just outside the realms of reality. We have impunity written into the DNA of our political class.
How old were you when you learned that Jeshi Lokop is Jeshi Lawokov?
I can't say it very well. No, ni mtu wa Jeshi Lokop.
And everyone knows. Okay.
This is the weather with Spice FM.
16 degrees, partly cloudy conditions in Nairobi, highs of 24 and lows of 15 today. Let's look into Nyeri, we're at 14. It's raining this morning, highs of 23 and lows of 14. Nakuru is mostly sunny at 16, highs of 25 and lows of 14. Looking into Kisumu, 19 degrees and sunny conditions, highs of 29 and lows of 19. Kakamega at 19 is sunny, highs of 28 and lows of 16. Malindi, partly sunny conditions, highs of 29 and lows of 24. Mombasa, partly cloudy, actually light rain right now, highs of 30 and lows of 23. Taking a look then into Kampala, 20 degrees and sunny conditions, highs of 27 and lows of 19. Dar es Salaam this morning also sunny, we'll see highs of 26 and then lows of 19. All right, looking into Lagos, 28 degrees, sunny conditions, highs of 29 and lows of 18, and 22 and mostly cloudy in Kinshasa, highs of 32 and lows of 13. Indeed, it continues. Most parts of the city this morning, and we're looking at heavy traffic on the Thika Superhighway getting out from the Muthui Square. Also joining with what's going on Kiambu Road today, it looks like quite a mess. Jogo Road, hot and heavy traffic all the way from Hamza out towards the City Stadium roundabout. That's not letting up today, at least not for now. Industrial area also quite heavy. Lunga Lunga, looking at that whole Likoni section, coming out then to Likoni Road. Enterprise Road also joining with that, quite slow. As you connect with Mombasa Road, however, it shouldn't be too terrible. There's an option into the city using Enterprise and then connecting with Mombasa Road outbound. Langata Road also still heavy. Coming into the city from Limuru Road today, also causing a bit of a challenge. We're also seeing that the city centre jam-packed. Kabisa. Hopefully it gets better. Let's keep an eye on things this morning. We know it will get better, but we also know that Mombasa Road is going to get stickier as we go along. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Talk to us there. Text on 40127.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
We're asking all drivers to be very aware of what's going on the roads today. Be aware of your surroundings and always watch out for other road users. Absolutely important to do, though, including motorists, border riders, cyclists, pedestrians, and school children, as they depend on you for their safety. It does not hurt to share the road. Please remember this. Always wear your seatbelts, use your signals correctly, look around before making any turn, and remember, speed that thrills is speed that kills. It's a message to you and all of us from the NTSA and the European Union. Usalama barabarani, fika salama.
Indeed. Continue the conversation about the livelihood and the effect of COVID-19 on our livelihoods. Today we're talking about the cost of treatment for COVID-19. First, accessing that treatment. Beds, hospitals are full, and when you find a hospital bed and then you require to get that treatment and care, the cost of it is very high. Remember, insurance is not covering any of this. Not even NHIF is covering any of this. So when you are slapped with a bill of 300,000, 400,000, 700, a million, 2 million, 3 million. It's all to come from your pocket and that of your friends and loved ones. Want to hear your experiences? 0719 012 600. John of Elbagon, who is maybe somewhere in Nairobi or maybe not. Good morning.
Morning. How are you guys?
Very well.
Thank you, John.
I'm in Nairobi.
Good. Now we shall change. John of Nairobi.
Yes, I think you should change.
Okay.
Yes. Now, just two things before I get into today's conversation.
Okay.
Yesterday, you had an interesting one about the churches and politics. Yes. And I want you to refer you to my Bishop Emeritus, David Oginde, of CITAM. Look for him and ask him to tell you how CITAM has been able to deal with that, because CITAM has been able to deal with that effectively.
Okay.
That's the only church you will go as a politician that you will not allow to speak, including former President Moi. I think that's the only church he used to go apart from AIC, and he used to go and sit and listen to it. Secondly, the issue you had today about the press or the media, and just a quick one is that the other day the very senior editors went to see the president. You remember that interview?
Yes.
Very senior editors, and to my disappointment, they had I don't know if it was 2 hours, and nobody mentioned about the very many issues that this country is facing, like even the issue of drought. Nobody mentioned it. No, nobody mentioned like the issue, even the issue we are talking about today. It was not mentioned. And you wonder, and these were very senior editors, and I was asking myself, where are our priorities? Now, to come to today's conversation, it is so personal to me. I've just buried my mother-in-law last week, Friday.
Yep.
Hello?
Go
I
ahead.
buried
Can you hear
my,
John?
I buried my mother-in-law last week Friday, and from COVID, and he had a bill of 1.2 million, and she was not in a very big hospital. She was in a very small hospital somewhere in Eldoret.
Wow.
As we speak now, I'm in other two WhatsApp groups. A friend of mine who was in Kenyatta Hospital, he had a bill of 3.2 million. I have a lady, a lady in a barber shop where I normally shave in Hurlingham, also who passed on last week.
Yeah.
He was in a hospital in South Sea. She had a bill of 1.4 million.
Yeah.
So it is all over. It is all over, and it is very expensive. So this is real.
Yep.
This is something that is affecting people, and unfortunately, we are on our own.
That's indeed true.
It is Harambe. It is Harambe.
It's a Harambe left, right, and center, John. Thank you very much.
Yes, it's Harambe. Thank you.
Thank you. Wanjiro in Kiambu, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I'm calling you from Kiambu.
Yes.
Yeah, I had my own experience with COVID about 3 weeks ago. This is the 4th week since I was discharged.
Okay.
And I can tell you that the situation in the country is bad. Before I could get a bed in a good hospital, I had suffered a lot. I was first referred to a very big hospital along Bika Road, a referral hospital.
Yeah.
And the situation there was bad. I had a machine that measures oxygen.
Yeah.
And I stayed there at the reception for about 45 minutes. No one was attending to me. The nurses were just all over, walking, and my oxygen level kept going low and low.
Yeah.
I was with my husband, and by the time I was leaving the hospital, I could hear people in isolation rooms crying, Daktari, Daktari, where are these people? There's a specific woman who had fallen on the floor from her bed.
Wow.
And when the doctor came, she told the doctor, Mnataka nikufe. I have been on the floor for 3 hours, and nobody is coming to check what is wrong with me. You're just passing my room, ni nini inaendelea. And when I heard that, I knew it was time to leave. Because if people in isolation rooms are already complaining, then nimekuja kutibiwa nini?
Yeah.
I stayed there for 45 minutes. Wananiambia daktari anakuja. Finally, when we saw my oxygen levels are going low, we had to leave. Ndio wanatuambia, we didn't attend to you because we don't have PPEs. Can you imagine a big referral hospital? And the doctors are lying to you. They are joking with your health. You're almost dying at the bench. Na hawakwambi hawana PPE. At least, even if you have to leave, you leave as early as possible.
You know where to go.
The levels are going low.
So, Wanjiro,
Yes.
when you eventually now got hospitalized, how long did you stay in hospital?
I stayed in hospital for 1 week and 2 days. I was on oxygen for 5 days.
What was your bill as you were being discharged?
My total bill came to around 200 and something.
1,000 shillings.
Yes. And the insurances are not covering any of it.
Yep.
That is minus the cost of medicine. Because as you were saying, that is only the specific bills for that hospital. That is minus the charges for the ambulances, minus the charges for the daily medication, because medication unaambiwa there is no medicine, so you have to go and buy outside. And my situation, I had COVID pneumonia, and the pneumonia had already affected my lungs so much. So the medicines, I'm also allergic to sulfur. Dawa zinanunuliwa nje. There is a specific medicine ilienda kutafutwa. My hubby had to look for it. The entire Nairobi hapati hiyo dawa. Na mahali aliipata aliambiwa dawa ina cost 58,000. Na hii ni dawa haujajipanga kununua, inakuja abrupt. Na daktari anashinda akipiga simu, umepata dawa, this patient is going to,
because you need it.
If you don't get this medicine.
Pole sana, Wanjiro.
Wanjiro, how were you then able to pay for this?
luckily for me, I can say that my family and my friends really stood with me because by the time my hubby and my family, my immediate family communicated that nimekuwa situation sasa ni ya kurashiwa na ambulance and I need oxygen, that anyone who knows a hospital with sufficient oxygen and a bed, atuambie to call my hubby or any of my close family members. So people really came through. And my hubby, when we went to hospitals, because for you to get oxygen, if you have to book a bed kabla hujafika hospitali, then you have to pay before you are even put on oxygen.
Yeah.
So by the time my ambulance was arriving to hospital, then you have to part with around 31,000 for you to get that oxygen supply, even if it is just to stabilize you.
Yeah.
Before you can even get a bed. So my family and my friends really came through, and that is what helped me.
Thank you for sharing, Wanjiru. Thank you very much. Carol in Mugoga, good morning.
Morning, Eric. Morning, Joe. Morning, City.
Good morning, Carol.
Okay, I just wanted to contribute to the discussion. I think in terms of, since we began this journey in March of last year, we've been given a lot of promises by the government. Oh, we're investing in hospitals, we're investing in PPEs, their medics. But what we need to be asking is these measures that they keep saying they're doing. For instance, we have a curfew, which we've been told is about containing the spread of this disease. But it's not being contained. It's still spreading. Yeah, so we should be asking ourselves, what exactly is our government doing with our taxes so that we are able to mitigate what's happening?
Yeah.
Every week we have fundraising. Every week we have people looking out for beds. Yeah, we have people asking to help in terms of getting deposits over the weekend who are trying to find a hospital. Everywhere you're calling, you're being told there are no beds. Some hospitals are asking for 450,000 before you even get a bed. So how are we supposed to survive? I think the back lies with the government.
That's very true. Thank you very much, Carol. Zachary, Nakuru, good morning.
Oh, good morning. Morning, people.
Good morning.
I'm happy that again, there's another day that I'm with you. And very quickly, let me say that I know of 3 retired millionaires, and they were enjoying their life, and COVID happened, and they tried all the best they could, including their money, and they passed on. And let me say that all their savings were, taken away. So the families, despite the fact that they were well-to-do of people, they are now like just any other common Joe in the street, and they are suffering. And let me say this, Mr. Eric, last week I fell down with some slight fever, and I said, let me go to now seek for the vaccine, as I was you people advised me, And let me tell you that I went to the first hospital, and I found a long queue, a very long queue, And I was told that you are not queuing so that you get the vaccine today. You are queuing so that you give your details, and then when the vaccines are availed, we shall call you. Okay?
That was last week.
Last week, a certain man pushed me from the line and told me, "Oh, you guy, you look a bit informed and you look a bit busy, and you don't have to be here. Can you go to this other certain hospital now, which is next?" And I would mention, And I asked him, "Oh, Lily, are you sure that I'm going to get a job?" "Yeah, and you're also going to get treated," because I was having some bit of cough, And I believed him. So I went. I took the border, entered into a matatu, and I just lashed off, But now I think I was supposed to have been a journalist, because I always like getting views from people, Next to me, now in the matatu, I was sitting next to a woman who looked like she was going to the market, because she had this approach. And I told her I'm going to look for a vaccine in this hospital. You know what? She looked like me as if I've come from I don't know, space, And I asked her, why are you worried? I mean, why are you perplexed, she told me I'm going to be the last person to be vaccinated. And I went, I told her, oh, okay, I respect your view, but why? Let me tell you, Mr. Eric, the reasons that that woman gave me actually left me, saying, oh, it is only God who is going to
What did she say?
save us. Oh, she was telling me that so many false things, and actually she was putting in religion in it. She's a fanatic, yeah?
Yeah.
And it has been my duty now to actually sample people and ask them, have you been vaccinated? Are you going to be vaccinated? And let me tell you, the reasons that I'm getting, Mr. Eric, you journalists should be actually highlighting some of them and tell the public, can you go...
Just tell us one of the reasons that she gave you.
They were saying that God doesn't allow. They were saying that these vaccines have got metallic components that are going to make spoons in your house, killing to you. So many funny reasons.
So there's
and
still
I'm trying to tell them. Yeah, I'm telling them, Mr. Eric, very quickly, do not argue with the science. Do not, even if you are religious, do not argue with the science. Do not say, in fact, one of them told me, yeah? Hello?
Yes, we're listening.
One of the women told me, that woman I was talking about, that, Sijui the president was not vaccinated with this AstraZeneca, yeah? Hello?
Yeah. John, sorry, Zachary, can I ask you a question?
Do, please.
Did you get vaccinated?
I did.
And did you, was there a long queue?
The hospital that I went to, actually it happened to be in a rural village. And I was told these drugs are available here because people are not responding well. Yeah, that is the raw cause, are not responding well. So for you people who happen to come from towns, you are a bit informed and you have some level of understanding. You are the guys who are coming here for the vaccines, okay?
Okay. Thank you very much, Zachary. Thank you very much.
You,
Asante. 0719-012-600. We are seeking your experiences and your stories around COVID-19. Hospitalization, cost of hospitalization is what we're trying to focus on today. And then we shall come and ask ourselves, so what needs to happen? Because just like you heard John saying, he has, in the last just 3 weeks, he's been involved in a number of harambes. Somebody, a close relative, more than 1 million shillings in bills. Somebody else, 2 million shillings. Somebody else, 1.4 million shillings. It's the same. I'm also in the same kind of harambes. In fact, one of the ones that he mentioned, a lady who had a bill of 1.4 million shillings, Emma, who passed away, we are contributing, trying to see how can we help raise 1.4 million shillings to cater for hospital bill. And then we shall talk about burial. And it's left, right, and center. And today, if you got COVID-19, the first thing that you're worried about is, are you going to be able to get a bed, a hospital bed, should you need one? Are you going to be able to raise the money to pay for that hospitalization if you got sick? Doreen in Mombasa, good morning.
Morning, Spice. Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'd like to contribute about it. My husband got COVID-19 a month ago, and it was hell. I was admitted. We were taken in a hospital, and they said we had to pay a deposit of 200,000, and they referred us to Coast General first of all. So I took my husband with my son and a tuk-tuk. We went there, not knowing the oxygen levels are going down. With this referral letter, getting to Coast General, the doctor reads it and he gets alarmed. It's like, what are you doing with the patient on a tuk-tuk? He's supposed to be in an ambulance on oxygen. His oxygen level is very low at 45.
Wow. I
didn't know anything. They had referred me, recommending me the patient to be taken to ICU. They're asking if this patient is on ICU, he's supposed to be on ICU. What are you doing with him in a tuk-tuk? With no oxygen, in a tuk-tuk with no oxygen, and just me and my son, a 7-year-old.
Wow.
So reaching the Coast General, the doctor gets alarmed. He's furious. He will call the hospital. He gets so angry with them and tell them, you can't bring a patient with a referral letter before calling us. The hospital is full. I have no space. I don't have space in the ICU. I don't have space in the ward. He told me, you take him back and you take this patient. Getting to Jocham Hospital, they are requested for 200,000.
Now, how did you transport him back? Because the doctor had already
With the
told
same tuk-tuk.
Same tuk-tuk.
What? With the same tuk-tuk.
With oxygen level of 45.
45. So we took him back to Jocham again. Thank God there's a good nurse by the name of David. David took him, said, I don't want to know if you have money or not. This guy has to be on oxygen. So he took him and placed him on oxygen in emergency room. He was on oxygen while we were still communicating with them. So the hospital was like, we cannot take him because without the deposit of 200,000. I told him it's late at night. Where did I get this money from at this night?
Wow.
They said, no, madam, we cannot help you without the money. So I had to call. Thank God for county government of Kilifi where he works. The governor is a very good man. May God bless him. With the manager, the head of the department he's working on. So I had to talk with the head of department. He made a few calls. I'm telling you, he was on that oxygen in Jocham while they were still communicating with the other hospital. There was no hospital in the whole of Kilifi County, the whole of Mombasa County. I have nowhere to take this patient and I don't have 200,000.
So
all hospitals were full.
So the reason why you were not able to take him to any hospital in both these counties because they had no space.
They had no space at the wards, no space at the ICU. Thank God we got a bed at Mayo Hospital at around 3 a.m. in the morning. So we had to take him to we had to communicate and take him. So we had to wait for an ambulance from Kilifi County with a tank of of oxygen of 2,500 millimeters. That is the only one which could take it because he was using 2,500 liters of oxygen an hour. So we had to take
How long ago was this?
It's just a month ago. Since we've been out of hospital, it's just 1 month.
Poleni sana, Doreen.
Yeah, but thank God we did it. The bills are exempt. They are overwhelming.
How much was the total bill?
The total bill for 8 days was 467,000 minus the medicines and the ambulances and the scanning.
Right.
Yeah. So it's that bad, and the insurance is not covering anything. Once you be diagnosed, the entire bill is all yours.
And this is a private facility. This is a private hospital, right?
That's a private hospital. There are no spaces, even as we are talking today. There are no spaces in Kilifi County. There are no spaces in Mombasa County on all the public hospitals, and even most of the private hospitals. There are no spaces.
Thank you for sharing your story, Doreen. Daniel Kemboy in Eldoret. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well.
Yeah. I think this pandemic is taking our economy so badly.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have experienced. We've lost so many people around. Even our colleagues. I work with the county government of Western Gishu. Last month we lost Masti, who actually was working with us, and with a bill of 5.5 million.
5.5 million?
Yes, 5.5 million. Aga Khan.
And for how long was she in hospital?
A month. Yes. It is devastating. The hospitals are full. You know, Moi Teaching and Referral also is a facility near us.
Yep.
And you know, the town is small, and people and the town is growing, and people have actually come to this place for medication. So the situation of COVID here is so bad.
It's dire.
It's dire.
Thank you very much, Daniel.
Yeah, thank you.
These and more stories are just, copy, paste, go anywhere in the country. And this is the situation. We heard the same thing. Remember when we hosted the Garissa Town MP here, Aden Duale, and he was telling us it's the same situation in Garissa. Hospitals are full. People are seeking hospitalization. The main hospital in Garissa is full. And remember, Garissa was the provincial headquarters of Northeastern. So it's a big facility. Full. They're trying to see how can they set up an extra facility somewhere to cater for people. This is a situation happening around the country, and we just talk here on a daily basis. Oh, you know,
this is a number, this is the positivity rate, such and such number of people have passed on. But that's not the true picture. The true picture is that there are sick and dying more than we're able to handle. And a lot of people have died. The number of people who have died because they were not able to get treatment at a particular facility would actually surprise you.
It's very, very high. We want to continue hearing these stories on SpiceFM. Thank you very much to the people who've been watching us on KTN. SpiceFM is on 94.4 in Nairobi. If it's Mombasa, you are on 87.9. Kisumu, 102.5. 96.0 in Nakuru. 96.7 in Eldoret. 90.9 in Nyeri. And Malindi is 97.7. You can switch on so we can continue hearing from Kenyans on what is happening, the situation on the ground with regards to COVID-19. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up
so more
your
and more
life.
people are calling, and we'll be picking your calls because we'd like to hear these experiences from across the country. You heard from Doreen. So you have been referred to another health facility. And as you're going, you are basically taking a tuk-tuk. Now imagine how much... somebody whose oxygen levels are dropping to 45 and you've referred them to a hospital. A doctor looks and the doctor says, this is an emergency situation, but I cannot do anything about this emergency. I don't have a space. I don't have an empty oxygen cylinder that I can use to help this person. I have nothing. And his problem now is the other healthcare expert on the other side who dispatched them to come here. You should have called to ask me before you actually let this sick, critically ill patient come. So that we talk. If you have oxygen, put them on oxygen. But that is not happening. And this is just one of the very many cases around the country. 0719 012 600 and SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Let us share our stories today. The cost of hospitalization for COVID-19, the reality of COVID-19 in our communities. And then we'll ask ourselves, so what should we all do? What should the government do? Good morning. It's 9 a.m.
Spice up your life.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi has reiterated that his main agenda is to revive the economy through tax cuts and ensure that Kenyans are left with enough money to meet their needs. In a live interview on our sister station Radio Maisha, Mudavadi, who was interviewed from his home by the station, says he is gunning for the presidency to improve the economic state of the country. Mudavadi has noted that he stopped his campaigns temporarily owing to COVID-19 protocol. Now, Education CS Professor George Magoy is expected today to continue a series of door-to-door operations in Nairobi County to ensure that 100% of students who took their Standard 8 exams last year are enrolled in high schools. Magoa, who has given a deadline of Friday to parents to make sure that they send their children to school or they will be arrested, today will take the operations to Dagoretti and Kangemi. Speaking yesterday in Kiandutu area in Kiambu County, the minister warned that by Friday this week, the police will start arresting parents who have not sent their children to school. MPs today are expected to hold a special session to approve 4 new IEBC commissioners. The Justice and Legal Affairs Committee approved all candidates whose names were submitted to Parliament by President Uhuru Kenyatta. They are Juliana Cherera, Francis Wanderi, Justice Nyang'aya and Irene Masit, who will be filling the positions left vacant by Rosalina Kombe, Paul Kurgat, Margaret Mwachanya and Connie Maina. Kenya has recorded 565 new COVID-19 cases from a sample size of 4,494 tested in the last 24 hours, marking a positivity rate of 12.6%. In a statement issued, the Ministry of Health said the total confirmed positive cases are now 235,863. Meanwhile, 1,280 more patients have recovered from the disease, with 1,062 from the home-based isolation and care program, while 218 are from various health facilities countrywide. The cost of living has soared again as the rate of inflation climbs to 6.57% in August, according to new data from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. This even as the Statistics Agency revised July inflation up to 6.55% from 6.44% previously. KNBS has not provided an immediate explanation for the revision. The negligible change in the inflation rate between August and July revised numbers is, however, attributable to marginal increase in food and energy costs. Now, a Form 4 student at Kapsumbeiwa Secondary School in Kurisei South, Nakuru County was yesterday hacked to death after he was found with a 35-year-old married woman in her matrimonial bed. The student was stabbed several times by the woman's husband, identified as Japheth B. Confirming the incident, Kurisoi DCIO Peter Obonyo said a student died at Nakuru Level 5 Hospital while undergoing treatment. Police have launched a manhunt for the attacker, who escaped after the incident. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, quite a lot of traffic in the city centre. All feeding roads, Muranga Road coming into the city, Gong Road feeding into the city as well. Coming out of Westlands into the city, Kenyatta Avenue actually looks quite packed now. A lot of traffic coming in from Uhuru Highway, in and outbound is what we're looking at now. Also looking at quite some coming off of Thika Super Highway, and that drama madness that is happening on Mombasa Road still continues well into the city this morning. Doesn't look good. Looks like it's going to take some time to get out of this one. Jogo Road is still packed as well, but actually looking much better than it was. Now feeding off to Landys Road is where we have the issue, but that previous traffic that we had seen right around the station is reducing. So it's a good thing. Let's keep an eye on things. Still in traffic hour for now. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to
5
start
minutes after
your
9.
day.
Kenya's biggest conversation continues. This is the fourth and final hour of the show today. CT, adui ni nani?
If there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do you no harm.
If there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do you no harm.
Zero.
Yep.
Zero harm.
Yep. Boyd is saying either the government is deliberately underreporting the COVID-19 statistics, or its communication channels from the region is wanting. COVID is ravaging. 3 Harambee WhatsApp groups this week alone. And the report coming from the village is scary too. Daily burials. 3 WhatsApp groups contributing because somebody is in hospital or has just come out of hospital or has passed away in hospital, COVID. Okay? And we're not talking about small figures here. We're talking about upwards of 400, 500,000 shillings upwards.
3
million.
We're talking of millions to the point where it's become common and it's just an ordinary figure.
Yeah, it's like one of those things.
Even if there was a bill of 20,000, there are very many people who would have enormous difficulty.
Yes.
Take it to 50, take it to 100, they would not know what to do with themselves.
Now, in fact, imagine, when there's a hospital bill and you can put it on a WhatsApp group and people can start contributing, it gives you hope.
Yes.
But when a doctor sends you out and tells you, go look for this medicine, here, go, run.
Wherever you find it is up
Wherever
to you.
you
Where
find
you
it.
will go is up to you.
You can't start putting it in a WhatsApp group. Guys, I've been sent to go and buy medicine. I don't have money. Please contribute. Because the doctor is telling you, bring this medicine back within a very short time or this patient dies. Now, can you imagine the kind of distress that people are going through? There's no medicine in this hospital. You're looking for it. You're not finding it. When you find it, you're being given a bill of thousands of shillings. Where on earth will you get this?
You know, the real problem here is that you're dealing with a condition whose treatment is still experimental.
Yeah.
So it's requiring doctors to be more versatile than they've probably ever been. You bring in some ARVs, you bring in some antibiotics, they are bringing in all sorts of combinations.
They're trying anything. You hear from another doctor, I tried this, it worked.
Yes. And some of them may even break protocol. You're told, no, my friend, forget that protocol.
Yep.
In this condition, this is what we're going to do. And some of those drugs that are being used are expensive to the degree. In fact, you actually wonder now, if you want in a hospital that has those drugs, essentially you're dead.
Yes. Yes.
So what happens to all these people who are in some rural place in a healthcare facility that was in dire need of basics just to begin with? Forget COVID.
But CT, and that's what breaks my heart here. Because you see that 81% that you've talked about?
Yes.
These are people who are staying at home with these diseases. You're talking about, what about the rural people in rural areas who go into health facility who has maybe a bottle of Panadol? They're not going to the facility, and that's the painful thing. They're sitting at home with this disease. You feel it a bit malmevo here and there. You say, okay, I'll just try and go because I have to work, or I have to do this or the other thing. They are not going to the facility. Number one, as empty and as unstocked as that facility is, and even as unmanned, because you have maybe one person there manning a dispensary, manning a clinic, as bad as the health facility is, even that they cannot afford to go to. This person, you say, has these symptoms, and then they present themselves to this health facility and they say, okay, we need to do this test. We need to do COVID test, 7,000. Boom. Where do they get it from?
Yeah.
Then we need to admit you. 200,000 shillings. Where are you getting it from?
You need to transfer this patient, and they
transfer
need
this
an
patient
ambulance.
in an ambulance. 31,000 shillings. Where is it coming from?
Let's hear from
this person
Simon.
Is looking for 100 shillings to eat.
Simon Maina in Kitangala. Good morning.
Yes. Good morning, sirs and madam.
Good morning to you.
I am quite disturbed, as many other Kenyans. I think there is something which is not either the government is ignoring some of these things, or either Kenyans we never took the government seriously. Because right now I am supposed to attend Barrios Friday too. From my close friend, family members,
right?
Who had some those are the right conditions. Now that is in Nyeri, surprisingly, from the Minister for Health home. Now, what is really touching us is the WhatsApp group that this guy was talking about.
Yeah,
because we cannot meet. And the bills are quite huge. You can imagine somebody in a rural area, the bills are going, and there is nothing you can do. If when you are being caught, so something is going on, you have to do what you have to do.
Yeah.
Simon, I think.
Let me just ask you, if you don't mind, of the two burials that you're attending this Friday,
what
are the hospital bills?
Some are going to the tune of about 700. 700. The other one was short because there are these the diseases sometimes people don't talk about.
Yeah.
It's only when they go, somehow the families are keeping them under the carpet, so you don't know so much of it.
Yeah.
But when this disease catches up with them, then there is you can imagine somebody being transported from Nyeri to Nairobi. You don't know the little about it. Only when the billing comes out, then there is this WhatsApp group. We need to sort out this bill, this and that. And, that is it.
Thank you very much, Simon.
Yeah, thank you, so Latif.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your story. 0719-012600. Let's continue sharing the stories. Sharing the stories of any number of WhatsApp groups that you're in because you're contributing for people that you know or people whose relatives you know, or where you've had yourself to actually attend to a patient or where you've undergone COVID-19 treatment. There are those who are also battling COVID at home.
Yeah. So there are people who have one or two situations, and still it's a home situation, whereby there's the home-based care protocol that the Ministry of Health has set up. So maybe you present with, you have tested positive and they can find this from this database. And then they say, well, okay, your symptoms are not serious. You can actually be at home and that having been taken care of. Whether they call people anymore to find out your progress or not.
Stories.
Stopped happening very, very, very many months ago. Even when it started, it was not happening. So forget that. All right. And then we have other people who either know they have COVID and have stayed at home because they can manage their symptoms, or don't know they have COVID but have symptoms and are at home, which for me is even a more dangerous situation. That they're feeling a certain type of way. But look, again, for whatever reason, I don't want to go find out if I have COVID. I am not able to afford whatever care if they say that I do. So let me stay at home and manage the symptoms as best I can, and I leave the rest up to God. So we have these three categories of people who are sitting at home hoping to get well. And if they do, having survived COVID, they don't want to and they cannot go to hospital. That's a reality. And as you were speaking, I realized something. I said, oftentimes we're given, I remember when certain things were happening in this country, there's a doctor strike and we're told, very few doctors are striking, forget about that. There's a nurses strike, health worker strike, no, it's just a few people who are making trouble. The majority of people are actually at work and they're happy with the situation because we've done the best. Same attitude that's being given here. When we talk about people are dying, people are sick, they cannot find, they say, no. These are isolated cases. They're just a few people who've gone to hospital and not been able to find. No. It is very difficult, or either somebody has gone far left completely to make up a story like this about having to hop from hospital to hospital to find care and they don't find it, or looking for money to pay the bills for their kin, So these are not isolated cases. And the worrying thing is that this is actually the majority of cases this is it. This is the reality today, right now, that we are not able to care for our sick. We are not able to provide adequate buffers so that even if they do get sick, they don't have to die in the process of paying for this healthcare, because that's what's happening. People are paying for their sick in hospital and their livelihoods are being eaten to the core. They can't afford. People are borrowing to make sure that their people get well.
Yep.
They don't have. Imagine this woman being told at night, 200,000 shillings.
200,000 shillings deposit.
Where are you going to get it from? Let's even say the sun was high. Where are you going to start?
And as you're saying this, the person that you are brought to hospital
is fighting for breath.
Is fighting to breathe. It's only good that, as she says, that nurse looked and said, I need to do something. I can put him on oxygen, but I cannot admit you beyond this point. I can only help you this far. You need to do much more. You need to do much more. These stories are being told left, right, center, around the country. And this is what we're saying today. Let us talk about it. Let's talk about it, because if we don't talk about it, then we'll always just be assuming, you know what?
It's okay.
Yeah,
it's getting better.
It's getting better. Dr. Omar in Kilifi. Hello.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Eric. Good morning, Ndu and City. How are you guys doing?
Good.
We're well, thank you, Daktari.
Asanteni sana. I really appreciate you guys touching on this topic. About 2 weeks ago, my aunt succumbed to COVID.
Okay.
She was in Garissa at that time. She got difficulty in breathing, sudden onset, We really struggled to get a hospital since I work in Kilifi, I work in Malindi. When there was no facility in Garissa, they were all full at that particular time. I took the route of coming to coast here, to Malindi and Mombasa.
Wow.
So we had to pass through Tana River.
By road?
By road, yes. No facilities could take her. We passed through to Malindi in Kilifi County. All hospitals, private, public, full.
Wow.
Passed to Kilifi, full. Passed to Mombasa. We tried the Coast General. I had given them a call before we arrived. And I was told all the COVID beds are full. So I decided to try my luck at a private facility called Premier Hospital. The deposit, 800,000.
Wow.
Not during the day.
Wow.
It is in the middle of the night, 1 a.m. Where on earth am I supposed to source money? 800,000 in the middle of the night. So no luck there. Tried Kwale. We had to cross the Likoni Channel, drive all the way to Kwale. We got a bed there, but it was too late.
Oh God.
No. I have never felt being failed by my country.
Completely helpless.
I am a law-abiding citizen. I pay my taxes on time. I file them on time. I'm responsible. I vote. And then when it is the dire moment of need, I cannot get help. So I wonder, well, what next? At that time I thought maybe I was the only one going through that. And this morning I'm driving to work and I have tears in my eyes listening to all this. It's all over the country. Every single person knows someone who has been affected adversely by this, either financially or by death or something like that,
Yep.
And then all we hear through the news is ati sijui mtu alimepokonywa
GSU akapewa AP.
GSU akapewa AP. Inanihusu nini mimi?
That's very true.
Somebody BBI, it is unfair BBI, what we are going to Supreme Court. For God's sakes, what is this charade going on,
Yeah.
They are coming, tutawasaidia kesho, anakuja na V8. Na watu wanakufa, hawana hospitali, hawana kitanda. Every day nasikia scandal, sijui COVID millionaires. Watu wakienda afterlife kesho, watajibu nini kwa Mungu?
Omar, how many hours did it take from the journey from Garissa into Tana River, into Kilifi, into Mombasa, into Kwale? That is crossing all those counties and not finding help. How many hours are we talking about?
I was on the road for 16 hours.
Oh, Lord.
16 hours. Praying, crying.
Hoping.
16 hours, Hakuna mtu amelala, hakuna mtu amekula,
Yep. You can't afford to. It's an emergency.
You can't, exactly. It's an emergency. You can't afford to. So thank you for giving us the platform. I hope the people who are in positions to affect the change are actually listening, and they know that this whatever they're doing, it's just a curse. It's just a curse from the people, Even if we don't curse anybody, but Mungu anaona tu.
That's very true.
Mtu anasema tumewaachia Mungu, lakini sisi wa Kenya ndo kweli tumeachia Mungu. Watu wamekula, wameshiba, wamelala, they are billionaires, alafu wanasema tunawaachia Mungu.
Dr. Omar, thank you very much for sharing your story. And poleni sana once again.
Pole sana, Omar.
Asante. You guys, since I last started listening to Spice, I think it's one of the best radio stations I've ever listened to. And asubuhi when I commute to work, very informative. So thank you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you too.
Thank you, Omar.
Your heroes without, what do they say, without capes.
Yeah. Asante.
Okay. Have a great day, guys.
You too, brother.
You too. 0719-012-600. Do you have a story? Would you like to share? Call in. Let's hear your story. The people that we've put in charge, what are they doing this morning? Those that have the responsibility to represent us, to oversight the executive and to legislate, and goes beyond that into allocating budgets. What are they doing this morning? They're talking other things.
This is the voice. These are the voices of people who have the means to actually make a call.
Yeah.
Now,
or even the strength.
Yes.
To speak.
Yes. Now, how many other people have loved ones at home? Because that's the only thing they can do.
Yep.
Think of the torture when you know full well that you're waiting for imminent death and there's absolutely nothing you can do. But that's really not the whole story. The whole purpose of government is to do those things that you cannot do. I can't keep providing security for myself. I may not have the means to.
Yeah.
The government does.
Yeah. That's why you're contributing to that kitty.
Yes. I can't build a school to take my children. That is why the government builds schools and enables other people to build schools so that children can go to schools.
Yeah.
I can't build my own private hospital so that should I fall sick, I can go to. The government provides that particular facility. And my contribution is to pay
taxes.
Yes.
Olivia in Mombasa.
Hi, how are you?
Very well.
Fine. I was just getting out to report to work.
Yep.
And I happened to hear this motion that is ongoing. I'm kind of devastated as we speak. And I don't know as a country, which direction are we taking? I have a sick brother who happens to have fallen sick for almost a month now. He studies in Eldoret. So he happened to contract some issues with his respiratory organs whereby he cannot breathe well, keeps on coughing and stuff. So we've been to these mini hospitals and we happened to get a chance to transfer him from Eldoret to Mombasa. We've sought help from local hospitals, x-rays and stuff. But on this given day, on 24th, it was severe. We had to look for oxygen in Mtwapa. We could not get oxygen. I got referred to Premier Hospital. Being in Premier, they administered well, yes. A chest CT scan was done. Even when before the results were out, I'm told to pay a deposit of 250,000 for isolation. So it's around 1 a.m. I cannot fetch money at that particular time. I request them to put him on emergency beds till morning for me to try facilitate this money. But unfortunately, the facility tells me that they cannot hold a patient for more than 2 hours in a facility bed. And you can imagine, this is a patient that we clearly know that is not a COVID case. It could be some relation to COVID, but it's not confirmed because we already did a COVID test and it was negative almost twice. So we needed intensive care. Only to request them at least to admit me as an inpatient, they insisted that the patient has to go on isolation. I cannot afford to pay the isolation fee. I'm transferred to Coast General. I thank God, yes, Coast General, they administered us well. But do you know, since that particular day till yesterday, my brother has not got the PCR report to confirm him COVID positive. He's being mingled with COVID patients in there because he's put in isolation as a referral from Premier. We as the family have been pleading them to take a good look because from the radiologist report, it could clearly say that my brother has less chances of having COVID. But instead, it could be an underlying illness that is eating up his lungs.
Yeah.
So until yesterday, I requested them, then give me the swab, let me take it to a private facility for me to get the COVID test done.
Right.
I've done that. Right now, as we speak, I'm headed to Mombasa Hospital to receive the results. They again come in and tell me we need to run a BNP test. I get to do the BNP test. The cardiac markers seem to be higher. And then they again bring me another story. My brother might be having a heart failure. So I'm getting confused.
Who is
from where I sit?
Sorry, my dear. Who is speaking to you when they're giving you these diagnoses? A doctor? Who is telling you this?
I've been getting random feedbacks because you see, I don't have access to my brother. He's been put on isolation.
Sure, but from whom? Are you hearing from a nurse? Are you hearing from a doctor, a lab technician?
I get reports from a nurse. And I thank God for my sister. She's also a lab technician in Alliance. She has gone deeper to try to get to these physicians, cardiologists, just to see if they can help. As we speak right now, I'm running help from outside, contacting different customers, practitioners to at least tell me what could be ailing with my brother because he's been put there on a wrong diagnosis. I've bought Actemra, which goes for 100,000. I've bought Remifedon, which goes for 60,000. I've bought other medicine, proceedings and stuff that were around 25,000. And yet, my brother is on a COVID medication, which is not confirmed to be a COVID case.
Olivia.
Tell me from where you are sitting. What should I do? What should I do with this kind of situation? I mean, I'm tired.
Have you spoken to the doctor in charge? Because there has to be a doctor overseeing this whole process.
Yes.
Now, each time I get to the facility, I only get the emojis who are in there on shift. They're the people who are giving me progress. My brother is on and off ICU. The other day he was on general. Yesterday, but one night he was taken back to ICU. He's terrified. He's telling me he's seeing dead bodies coming out. He doesn't know if he'll make it for tomorrow.
Are you at Coast General Hospital?
Right now I'm heading there.
There is an in charge who you can speak to. There is somebody in charge of that particular ward. There is somebody you can speak to. Look for them and seek to speak to them and get clarity. That is a hospital. They will know exactly what your brother is ailing from. They will know exactly what needs to be done. Get somebody in charge to talk to.
I'm so disappointed that I have to plead with them for them to really diagnose what my brother is suffering from.
Go and insist on it.
Insist on it, because if they've done the test, then you should get the results. If there is a delay that has occurred, they should tell you when it is you can get the results. But it is something that can be done. You must not allow yourself to get overly frustrated.
Yeah.
Focus and go and ask to see the person in charge.
Olivia, just stay on the line.
Yes,
I have Dr. Simon Kigondo, who is a doctor. He's on the line. Doc,
please.
I want. You've been hearing the story that Olivia is giving, Dr. Kigondo. Good morning.
Good morning. I was actually going to quote Olivia on this issue, and maybe just to come from a general point of view, the overall goals of a healthcare system are to improve health, like treatment of Olivia's brother, and that would depend on what is the level and equity, and the health system has to be socially responsible, and there has to be social and financial risk protection with improved efficiency. Now, for this to happen, you need to have good service delivery. As you hear, she went to one hospital, then went to Coast, and it was only in Coast General Hospital where some form of care was
given.
Now, for that to happen, there has to be a health worker.
Let me just interrupt you here. I also have Janet on the line, and we'd like to hear from Janet before then you come and give us this.
No problem. No problem. We can address
advise Olivia right now, because she's on the line, before we let her go. You've heard what she's going through. She's not getting information from one particular source. Who should she talk to when she gets to Coast General Hospital this morning?
City Muga gave the correct advice. She should go and look for the office of the medical superintendent, and the medical superintendent has the power to ask the people treating the patient to give information on her brother.
All right. Olivia, you hear that?
Yes, please.
Okay. All the best, Olivia.
Thank you.
Asante. Dr. Kigondo, just stay on the line. Let's also hear the story of Janet, who's also on the line. Janet, good morning.
No problem.
Good morning, Leslie. How are you?
Very well, thanks.
And the rest of the team.
Good morning, Janet.
Good morning, Janet.
So it's really an unfortunate situation, and it's really annoying. Yesterday, I buried a very close friend, COVID, and it's gotten to a point you actually wish some of the senior government officials could get COVID and die. Then it will hit them. I don't think they take this thing seriously. Number two, even us as Kenyans, I think it's getting to a level where I think we are either stupid or we don't reason. I don't know what is wrong with people.
Why do you say
when I meet with people, and these are people who are I cannot say they are rural people, and you tell them, can you go for the COVID vaccine? Oh, I think it has this side effect. Oh, I think. So I keep on asking, when you're in that hospital, you're incurring, like my friend had a bill of 1.6 million.
Wow.
You're incurring costs. You're in that hospital in ICU. You will be alone.
Yep.
There will be no one who will be giving you comfort in ICU.
Yep.
You'd better get, how many people have you had dying from the COVID vaccine? I think the stupidity we have is amazing. Number two, the way people are just partying with reckless abandon is annoying. You get into a matatu, people don't wear masks. And they say they don't wear those things. I mean, Nanya, there's a taxi driver, I remember, who told me, kwani COVID ndo inaua watu peke yake. Then I asked them, hata sisi tukifanya juu ya accident peke yake. When mame kwa barabara uone kama utagonga. I think we are either stupid. I think our government is just in another place, and I think we just need some couple of years to be hit with COVID properly.
Yeah.
Janet, you sound very upset.
Yes, I am extremely upset. I'm upset with Kenyans. I'm upset with the political class. I'm upset with the leadership. I don't know.
You're upset.
But it's a bad situation. There are no beds. You're in WhatsApp groups. I mean, for me, I'm even scared of getting outside my house now. And people will tell you, wewe wacha maneno mingi, kwani COVID ndio itakuwa peke yake, si watu wanakufa na magonjwa mengine. Those are the same people who are going to come pleading with you. Can you help us? We have a bill.
Yep.
And unfortunately, even my friend, I remember at one point was saying, this is a hoax. It has hit him. Yeah? So I think there needs to be a lot of... And the other thing I want to emphasize on is also these hospitals that are giving the vaccines. Why should they go to hospital and you go at 10 and you're told the vaccines are over. Why can't they do it like the polio things that they come house to house,
They
every
bring
house?
it.
Just bring it to the people. Where am I being told from Elisha Jana? When you go to get the vaccine, I went to get the vaccine. I had to go to 5 hospitals for crying out loud. KU referral, there was no vaccine. Uhai Neema, there was no vaccine. You go to Mata, there was no vaccine. You go to UN, there's no vaccine.
Yep.
What nonsense is this?
Thank you, Janet.
I hope one of the government officials hear this thing.
Thank you, Janet. You have every right to be upset, as we all are. Jane Karaoke is also on the line. Good morning, Jane.
Good morning. How are you?
Okay.
Okay, it's very sad to hear the comments that people are making, but I had a question. Some of these bills, are the bills being escalated because people are being put on oxygen or what? When I hear that hospitals have no oxygen, if you remember, a short while ago, companies like Tononoka offered free oxygen.
Yep.
A few weeks ago, I wake up to one of the groups, and there's a lady at Bagati Hospital who's saying her oxygen levels have gone down.
Yep.
She's asking for help. And so I sent out a message and I said, why don't they reach out to Tononoka? I called Tononoka in the morning, and they told me that the services are still available, but the hospitals are not coming to them. So when they inquired, they were told that the hospital has been stopped from getting oxygen from outside. I didn't know what that meant. Outside from where, And unfortunately, that lady passed on in the evening.
Good Lord, what's going on?
Now, the sad thing is to hear that there are companies out there that are willing to give free services, yet we keep on hearing that hospitals do not have oxygen.
We have internal battles within government departments.
I don't know what this is all about.
This has been offered. No, we cannot take it. We know you have to follow procedure. And the procedure, somebody who is supposed to be making sure that the procedure, there could be a point in terms of we want to make sure that the assistance that we are receiving is quality assistance. Okay, how long should it take just for you to go to that Totonoka and find out, is the oxygen that you're giving the kind of oxygen that's required? How can we help you so that what you're producing is what is needed? All those things.
They have quality assurance people.
So that when you hear, say, the CS Health...
people.
Sorry, go ahead. You're saying something.
They have quality assurance people. So if they want to assess whether the quality is good, they have means. They have means to do this.
They do. And even when you hear, say, the CS of Health saying, look, it is the government that is going to be responsible for buying the vaccines, it is understandable what they're trying to say.
Yeah.
You don't want something as important and as crucial as this to be left to the vagaries of any individual, especially the unscrupulous variety. However, there is then a problem with government procurement, because when are we going to get the vaccines? When are they going to come? And when they come, how will we know? You see, these questions have been there from the beginning and they're still there. So you are right to be frustrated. You are right to expect, because it is your right to actually receive this. But unfortunately, these are situations to which we don't really have very easy answers.
But the thing also, we must also...
Because they could not get oxygen.
Yes. And yet, we produce and manufacture oxygen in this country.
Jen, thank you for your story.
One more point.
Yes,
Jen. These are extraordinary times. So it calls for extraordinary measures to be taken, which means we cannot continue doing things like we do. We need to think outside the box, so that we realize even if the government has procedures, yes, we do appreciate that, and it's a good thing. But what do we do? Because we are living in extraordinary times. That's my query. We can't do a business just like we always did it yesterday.
Not as usual. When things are unusual.
We cannot. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay. Good day. Good day, people. And thank you so much for everything.
Good day, Jan.
Thanks, Janet.
Yeah. Bye.
Dr. Kigondu.
Yes.
Before we take the break, because we need to take a break and take a look at traffic.
Yeah.
Can you just make us understand what's happening in what is it?
What's happening in Kenya?
So there are two things. One, we need our approach towards health has been wrong. We have been trying to provide private solutions to a public problem. We must understand that health is a social good, and health no particular person can actually afford the cost of health. And that's the only reason we have a government. So the government is supposed to approach health, especially this concept of universal health coverage. And UHC, your healthcare should be tax-funded and public-driven. A lot of the complaints we are having is that we were told to go give some money. In a private facility, of course, that will happen. You must pay sort of for that effort. But if our public facilities were top class, then the private sector is used to supplement. So this, my view of this is the approach. Secondly, diseases cannot be classified as a pandemic and no pandemic. Therefore, one can be paid for and another one cannot be paid for. If we had a functioning public health system, it doesn't matter whether you have COVID or whatever pandemic, whether it's pneumonia, you go in, you get treated, and you go back and develop the country. So it is our approach that is an issue. That maybe I can take a question or two.
So, what you're talking about today is what you talked about last year, is what has been said very many times. How can we fix it? It's not that the experts in the Ministry of Health do not understand these things. They do.
Yeah.
How can we fix it? What do we need? Do we need the politicians then to get to understand it so that they can push these things through?
So we need to strengthen the building blocks of the health system. In terms of the health workforce, we need to look at how can we increase and fund health workforce. Of course, on our side, we have been vouching for a health service commission and continuous employment and all. A pandemic takes out all the health workers, so you'll never have enough health workers. In terms of financing, we must look for a way of funding, for instance, the NHIF over and above the contributions, such as a health tax, such that you have adequate funds to be able to pay for someone who has entered. We should not be having someone being asked for those millions. When you are sick, you cannot. And that is the concept of UHC, which is avoiding catastrophic health expenditure. You see? We should be able to just have a card. You enter any hospital, you get treated. And maybe I can use Dr. Ouma Oluga as an example. In his short tenure at NMS, he has managed to convince the powers that be to build several hospitals in several places in Nairobi to employ a lot of health workers, and we can see that the health service delivery in NMS region is improving, and that is the way to go.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kigondu. Thank you for your call and for always contributing to our conversations.
No, you're welcome. And one more thing, in terms of the vaccine, I think we just need to get 25 million vaccines. The reason why people are fighting over vaccines is because we have not invested. The EPL, Manchester United, won the other day with guys going to the field. Why? Because you are saying you're not testing for the virus. You are saying you have vaccinated these people. You can come to the stadium. So you can't bring 1 million vaccines and get people to fight for it and hope that you can open up the economy. I think the investment would be pay for these vaccines, bring them, and then open up the economy. Stop curfews and things like that,
Asante sana.
Thank you, Dr.
Kenya's biggest conversation at 9:45. Let's take this quick break, take a look at the weather, and then we hear more callers. We have Sakina from Kiambu, who's also going to contribute a story. COVID-19 stories. Man, it's painful.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Johnny. Johnny. Johnny, hata unisikizi. Ni nini umesoma kwa simu hivyo?
Ni gazeti ya leo napitia.
Aje sasa. Si expert.
Ni 5 bob too.
Keep up with the latest trends and news in health, real estate, finance, business, and entertainment from the convenience of your mobile phone. Dial *550*3# to access pull-out sections of the Standard e-paper for only 5 shillings from your telecom line with no additional charges to enable you to stay up to date, informed, and entertained.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM. The weather with Spice FM.
The sun has taken a dip in Nairobi. Those cloudy conditions will continue for some time. Highs of 24 and lows of 14 today. Looking into Nakuru, mostly sunny at 19. Highs of 25 and lows of 14. Nyeri, still raining at 16. Highs of 23 and lows of 14. Then taking a look into Kisumu. Cloudy, sunny conditions rather. Highs of 29 and lows of 19. Kakamega mostly sunny at 24. Highs of 28 and lows of 16. Mombasa, raining this morning at 27. Highs of 30 and lows of 23. Looking into Malindi, 27 degrees and light rain as well. Highs of 29 and lows of 24. And going out into Kampala, 22 degrees and cloudy. Highs of 27 and lows of 19. And Kinshasa, I forgot to give you that. Cloudy conditions at 23, highs of 23 and highs of 32 and lows of 23. Let's look out into Beijing, where at 29 it's sunny with those highs and lows of 18. Paris is cloudy at 15, highs of 24 and lows of 13. London weather this morning is cloudy. We'll see lows of 15 and highs of 24. Looking out into New York, coming into early Wednesday morning, we'll see highs of 26 and lows of 19.
And everything nice, everything nice.
Spice up your life.
All right, looking much better in some areas. However, there's still some heavy traffic coming off the Thika Superhighway as well as Mombasa Road in and outbound today. So we keep watching out for that. The city center is a mishmash of traffic. So if you're getting in, it might take you some time to get out, or for however long your business will take you. Just know that there is quite some there. All right, we're looking at Uhuru Highway in and outbound from Westlands and the city. It continues in that fashion. Gong Road not looking too bad. Langata Road, however, still traffic spilling over from the southern bypass. Industrial area, especially Lunga Lunga, that is still very slow this morning, but traffic looking better in other areas. Let's keep an eye on things through the day. SpiceFM KE on Twitter is how you can talk to us, or text on 40127.
Spice and everything nice.
Don't board an overloaded matatu. That's what we're already talking about this morning, as we're trying to keep it safe on our roads, guys. If all seats are occupied, wait for the next vehicle. It does not hurt. If you respected the safety and comfort of other passengers, if you want to enjoy your journey, say no to excess passengers. It doesn't hurt if you respected others. When using a boarder, always remember, one passenger at a time, and use a helmet. In order to be visible to other road users, wear a reflector jacket. Protect yourself and also help others to protect you. Usalama barabarani, fika salama.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
It's 10 to 10.
94.5.
Agoya says, me, I have lost friends, I have lost count. The fundraising groups, I just don't know how many have been added to. Just recently, I was crossing the ferry when an ambulance driver asked me how to reach Msambweni. That's the only place that they got an ICU bed from Tana River. Ambulance driver was on the ferry. Has a patient come from Tana River. They've been told, go to Msambweni. They don't even know. So, boss, how do I get to Msambweni Hospital?
You know the question that you've just raised by making that statement? How is it that Msambweni, which is in Kwale, how do they have the facility? How is it? Because it's not to say that they don't have COVID problems. They do. But how is it that they not only a bed, but they seem to have the facility? How is it? And how is it then that Tana River doesn't have? Are we saying that the cases of COVID have overwhelmed the facilities there, the point where they don't have?
Or are we saying that Kwale
I think it's a hit and miss.
Is getting it right?
It's a hit and miss, I think.
I think there could be one today, not one tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know why?
It was available at this point that you called. there was luck that we had an available space.
But maybe in a day wouldn't be
The hit
there.
and miss seems to favor Kwale, just from the conversations we've had here from two people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, even when you say hit and miss, a conversation right there, must it be a hit and miss?
Yeah.
Can it just be available?
Just
Can't
make
it be that you don't have to
available.
try your luck? Can't it be that you say, okay, here we are, we're in this situation. We don't have to cross our fingers and toes and wish against a star. It's possible that we can actually get ourselves to a facility. We will find what we need.
Murege has heard the story of Doreen, who's talking about, her brother who's in hospital. Not Doreen, but the lady who has a brother in hospital and trying to get.
Was it Janet? No, it wasn't Janet.
It was Olivia.
Olivia. Yes.
And Muregi says, the hospitals in Kenya, especially public hospitals, it's a tall order to get a doctor. I have had a COVID patient in one big hospital, and the problem is communication. Communication that you get in regards to COVID is only from a liaison officer, not a doctor.
But why? And then this information, it's like gold that you're handing it out in little bits. Wouldn't it sounds like it would be actually to your advantage as the person who is the caregiver to say, or the health giver to say, this is the situation with your patient. This is what they've been diagnosed on. This is the cost of treatment. It sounds like
and
it's something
especially when you're talking about, go buy something 80,000, go buy something 100,000, go buy something 25.
Allah.
Hey, surely. You've spent over 200,000 shillings just buy.
And you still don't know what's going on. No.
Go do this test. Go do the other test. Sakina in Kiambu, good morning.
Good morning. How are you people?
We're well.
Morning, Sakina.
And now for my story, mine is, I think it's one of the most complicated. Just 2 months ago, I lost both my parents out of COVID.
Pole.
The bill for my mother, because she had an underlying condition of diabetes, came to 2.5, and for my father came to 1.7. And the most craziest bit of all of it was my dad's passing. He just got, we were just going for normal checkup, just doing a normal checkup because he had a blood pressure issue for a long time. All of a sudden, we're being told, okay, he needs to be in ICU right now because from the blood test and from the test that has been done on his chest, he has already contracted COVID.
Wow.
And right now on the spot, you're being told you need to put in 500,000.
As deposit.
That's deposit. I had to remove him from where we were. We were at Aga Khan. Take him to Mpisha with an ambulance. And that is at 3 a.m. in the morning.
Wow.
The good thing, we are told by our parents, keep money in the house. So at least I had some money. We went and paid a small deposit at Mpisha because that's also where I usually do treatments also for my older brother who also passed away from COVID. I have 3 members of my family.
Oh my goodness.
And the total of everything for all 3 of my family members came to almost 4 million.
Wow.
Doing all that.
It's actually in excess of 4
It's
million.
More than 4 million.
Just your mother and
More
your
than
father
4 million.
is 4.2 million.
4.2.
And if you have your brothers, you're probably heading towards 5.
Now, with all that, at least some people helped me. My dad's workplace also helped me out.
Yeah.
But it does so much of a drain onto your financial book. We had to sell our house, sell our car, move from Westland, and come over there to Kiambu. Because now life has changed. And explaining it to my kids became even an issue.
Wow.
And then to make it even more stressful, just 2 weeks ago, my husband also contracted it, and he's in Uganda. So I don't know what is going to happen.
Sakina, is he in hospital?
He's in hospital. He's okay. The company he works for is taking good care of him. It's not as bad. We're always talking, but you always have that fear. Because I even told him,
Sakina, are you still there? You've lost her. But listen to that story. We're talking about losing your parents, losing a sibling, and losing money, your livelihoods. Basically, have to sell your house, you have to sell your car, you've got to move, you've got to change your entire lifestyle as you are grieving the loss of the closest people that you know in your life. And as you're dealing with all these things, the other person who's now supposed to be the anchor of your strength is in another country in hospital. What on earth, man? Sakina, we thank you very much for sharing your story. And we thank everybody who's called to share their story. Thank you to Omar. Thank you to Doreen. Thank you to
Olivia,
Janet, Olivia, Jane, everybody.
And Dr. Kigondu for calling in, Dr. Omar. Yes.
The thing is, COVID is real, people. And we've got to change our conversations. We've got to change our conversations from everything else that the politicians want us to focus on and focus on our life.
Absolutely.
It's about life. I'm done for the day. You can talk about the proverb and what it means.
If there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do you no harm. In our situation, who do you think our enemy actually is? The disease is everybody's enemy. But who is making it possible for the disease to actually bring the sort of havoc that we are seeing it raining on the citizens of this country to the degree that it's raining? I think our work is cut out for us. It doesn't require any profound understanding to understand not just when the rain started beating us, but who is causing the rain to beat us.
Yep. The rain is raining as the rains do. Who moved the umbrella?
Is that umbrella?
Who removed the roof?
Yes.
Who left us exposed? As Dr. Omar was saying, I pay my taxes. I'm patriotic. I contribute to.
I do what I'm supposed to
play my
do.
civic duty.
Yes.
And I was expecting that on such a time, the government will. And he was left completely exposed.
16 hours of driving.
And he lost his auntie.
4 counties.
Crossing from Garissa to Tana River to Kilifi to Mombasa, on to crossing the ferry in the middle of the night to Kwale, and arriving in a health facility
and she
too
dies.
late. Okay.
Should not be, even if you look at that struggle with COVID and getting to a hospital, it should not be that the struggle of the Kenyan people ends in a position of futility.
And these are people who are telling us
the
what
struggle
they're trying to do.
must bear fruit.
Yes.
The struggle must bear fruit.
Yes.
People who have the ability to even try. What about the very many who do not even know where to start?
Yeah.
That's what I was telling
Imagine
you.
the very many who were left in Garissa Hospital, for example.
Yeah. In that fate.
Who didn't have a nephew who could take them out of Garissa Hospital.
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you for tuning into the Situation Room today. We are glad that you tune into these conversations on a daily basis. We will be back tomorrow morning. Good morning. It's now 10 a.m.
Spice up your life.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Asseto. ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi has expressed high hopes that he will become Kenya's next president after the 2022 general elections. In a live interview on